I'm in the world, but not of it. I praise God every day and I love it. I say what I want and I say what they want. I stand for the truth and what's right and they don't. Life is simple, it's no puzzle. Common sense will tell you not to wear a muzzle. Fear no evil, trust no people. When in doubt, shout, I'm a believer. I fear no man, though the world is broken. God, shine your light on me. I fear no man, though the world is broken. God, shine your light on me.
I offend everybody, the left, right, in the middle. Blame my parents because I've been this way since I was little. It used to be normal, now everybody praying to crystals. No wonder why it's so easy for the devil to trick you. They treat you like dogs, hitting muzzles all on your faces, forcing kids to wear them in schools. Doesn't this seem outrageous? They ban Bible scriptures on TikTok.
Let's go to Target! Let's go to Target!
Many such cases.
Some PlayStations! Let's go to Target!
I'm in the world, but not of it. I praise God every day and I love it. I say what I want and I say what they want. I stand for the truth and what's right and they don't. Life is simple, it's no puzzle. Common sense will tell you not to wear a muzzle. Fear no evil, trust no people. When in doubt, shout, I'm a believer. I fear no man, though the world is broken. God, shine your light on me. I fear no man, though the world is broken. God, shine your light on me.
I offend everybody, the left, right, in the middle. Blame my parents because I've been this way since I was little. It used to be normal, now everybody praying to crystals. No wonder why it's so easy for the devil to trick you. They treat you like dogs, hitting muzzles all on your faces, forcing kids to wear them in schools. Doesn't this seem outrageous? They ban Bible scriptures on TikTok.
Let's go to Target!
Trying to
Let's go to
replace that with the
Target!
government. Many such cases they put fear in you.
Let's go to
COVID-19,
Target!
guns, immigration. Here's the truth. Have you ever seen great wonders and miracles? I forget what he says after that. What up? Let's go. Where's my freaking air horn? I wish I could do multiple like do 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 do, but it doesn't. It stops itself. What up? What's up, C-Sal? Before we even do much on the show today, we're just gonna get started with some Christmas at the White House. I got two things. We're just gonna listen to these. It's Christmas time. Trump lit the tree, and Melania was there, looking nice. Looked like a pretty college student. I never went to college. I don't like college. Let's watch this. How do I want to do it? I'm going to do it full screen. We're going to do it this way. Yeah. Where's my camera? Here we go.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. It is beautiful, not too cold. There's no wind.
Merry
We don't have
Christmas.
to wear hats or anything. This is a special time. And Melania and I are thrilled to wish everyone here tonight and Americans all across this land a very, very Merry Christmas. So is
Just listen to this.
everybody ready to light the beautiful Christmas tree? Are you ready?
I'm not even going to say anything.
So the First Lady is going to do the honors, and we're going to do a countdown. We'll go from 5 to 0, okay? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Honey.
Look at that tree. It's not as... Well, maybe it's always that big. Okay, I'm not here for the music. I want the speech. speech he gives is pretty, it's a good speech.
They did on creating that tree. It's a beauty. And let me also recognize Vice President J.D. Vance and Second Lady Usha, as well as Secretaries Scott Bessent, Pete Hegseth, Attorney General Pam Bondi, Secretaries Doug Burgum and Robert F.
Boo.
Kennedy
I like
Jr.,
Doug Burgum, though.
Administrator Kelly Loeffler, and their wonderful
Pam
families are
Bondi,
doing a
not so
fantastic
much.
job. And I see out in the audience the great one, Wayne Gretzky and Janet. Thank you very much, Wayne, for being here. He's used to this kind of weather.
Where's the part where he starts talking about the meaning of Christmas and Jesus?
They're incredible. The job formers, the Beach Boys, they're great. When the Son of God, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, came down from heaven to be with us, you're right. Full of grace and truth, he brought the gift of God's love into the world and the promise of salvation for every person and every nation. And we just settled another war today. You saw that with Rwanda and the Congo. It's been going on for 34 years. Millions of people killed. Could be 20 million. They don't know what the number is, and we just settled it today. That was a big one. We're very happy to announce it on this important day. Tonight, this beautiful evergreen tree glows bright on the dark and cold winter night and reminds us of the words of Gospel of John, in him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. Beautiful words.
He goes back and forth between, like, he'll give like a, this is the birth of our Savior, of Jesus Christ, who came to save all nations. By the way, just stopped another war. And then he says, in the verse in John 1, Jesus is the life and the light of the world. Great words. I just want to talk about how we're bringing back the economy.
Birth of Jesus, human history turned from night to day. His word and his example call us to love one another, to serve one another, and to honor the sacred truth that every child is specially made in the image of God.
Based.
For 250 years, think of it, our country is 250 years, is a big year.
This is 250 year
I'm so
America.
happy that our presidency was delayed. Otherwise, I'd be sitting home watching television, not being invited. I would be extremely upset. And remember, we have not only the 250 years, but we have, this is a big one, we have the World Cup and we have the Olympics coming up, all within this 4-year period.
Doesn't the World Cup happen in every 4-year period? Doesn't the World Cup happen every year? And also, doesn't the Olympics happen every 4 years?
If they didn't rig the election, I would have been sitting.
Sorry, see, I'll even roast my boy a little bit. I think the World Cup happens every year, doesn't it?
Because can you imagine? I wouldn't have any of them, and I probably wouldn't have
And
been
the Olympics
invited. I would
happen
have been
every 4
very
years.
upset by that. But America has stood tall in part because millions of our citizens have heeded that call, and the faith and service of Christians have been essential parts of America's strength from the very, very beginning. Incredible. We love the Christians. We love all religions. And by the way, religion is coming back to the USA. You see that very strongly.
As long as
So
it's
this
not
Christmas
Islam.
season, let me say thank you to everyone who serves the needy and lifts up the communities inspired by faith. Thank you to the police, law enforcement officers, first responders, ICE, and Border Patrol agents who risk their lives every day to defend the innocent, protect the good, and keep the evil and danger at.
It's going to be a relaxed show today because there's a lot of videos. There's a lot of rundown. This Somalia, the True Social rant that I couldn't find the original rant on True Social, but that he did on Thanksgiving. We're a little late to that, but the new Somalia rant, the stuff going on about all that, we'll talk about all that. And then, shoot, I forgot what else. He called Tim Walz retarded, and the response to that, the media response, Tim Walz's response, Tim Pool's house got shot up, and then a bunch of internet drama with TPUSA being the accusations lobbed by Candace Owens and Milo Yiannopoulos. You know, we'll get to all that.
Bay. And thank you to the men and women of the United States military, including the brave heroes of our National Guard here in Washington, D.C.
But first, we're going to listen to this and then play Melania's Christmas commercial.
Where we've set a record for lack of crime in 28 years. So I just want to say we have a great place, and I want to...
Cinnamon Bun Girl. Are you talking about Melania? Are you talking about the beautiful Melania? A black...
Pay my highest respects to those two great guardsmen. You know who I'm talking about. They paid, in one case, the ultimate, and the other. Andrew is getting better. Sarah, unfortunately, is watching from a high, watching from heaven. Her parents are so incredible, and Andrew is hopefully getting better. He got hit hard defending us, and I just want to pay my respects to them, two incredible people. Unbelievable people. I spoke with the parents and met the parents today, met the parents of Andrew, and they have spirit and they love our country so much you wouldn't believe. But as a nation, we have much to be grateful for. On this holiday season, our border is secure, our spirit is restored. Most secure border...
Unless you're a liberal, in which case you're miserable every day, always.
We've ever had in the history of our country. 7 months, and nobody has come in illegally into our country. Nobody, not one. Our economy is thriving, inflation has stopped, our nation is strong, and America is back, bigger and better, stronger, better than ever before. Think of it. And we're making peace all over the world. We're settling wars at levels that nobody's ever seen before. 8 of them. We're looking for one more. That's Russia, Ukraine, if that's possible. And I think we'll get there eventually. Last week, 8,000 soldiers killed. Last month, they had 27,000 soldiers needlessly killed. We got to get that stopped. We're working very hard on it. Just over 1 year ago, our country was in very, very serious trouble. The King of Saudi Arabia said to me very strongly, "Sir, 1 year ago, your country was dead. Now you have the strongest and hottest country anywhere in the world." Can you imagine? We did this in 10 months. What a difference, and it's true. Everybody feels that, and all leaders feel that. So as we prepare to celebrate the miracle of Christmas, we thank God for his many blessings, and together we rejoice at the true source of greatness, happiness, and strength. The good news is that glorious nights 2,000 years ago, think of it, 2,000 years ago, it was indeed a glorious night. So I want to thank everybody here. I want to pay my deepest respect and love to all of our...
Pac-Man was saying one of the reasons Trump, well, he was saying Trump is the first atheist president. Who knows? I don't know. You don't know Trump's heart. You don't know what he really believes. Maybe he believes in Jesus, but he's not that into the whole religion thing. But anyway, you don't get to call that, Pac-Man. Christians won't even make salvific claims. Why are atheists out here making salvific claims? They don't even believe in it.
Great citizens, like 350 million people. We love them all. Whether you like them or not, we love them all.
So, judging off his words, he's saying Christian stuff. I know he lit some candles for some dang Hindus. But we're lighting a Christmas tree, and we're talking about Jesus. The president is doing that. What did Obama say when he lit the Christmas tree? Oh well, we like Kwanzaa, and also we consider Hanukkah. They told me I got a ha when I say it.
Oh, we want to take care of everybody. We have to take care of everybody in our country. I want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and have a good...
Hey, well, now hold on, Trump. I noticed you didn't say Happy Hanukkah and Merry Kwanzaa. Or what about Happy Holidays? Merry Xmas. Some people don't celebrate Christmas. Trump?
Time, and you're going to see some great entertainment. Thank you very much, everybody. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Well, now that's just mean. He didn't even mention Kwanzaa. What about Kwanzaa, Trump? A lot of Americans, maybe they don't celebrate Christmas.
All right, you're just listening in.
Okay, that's that. Now, one more thing for the Christmas spirit. I haven't watched this yet. It's probably for the ladies, but, you know, this is Melania's Christmas video. This is the decorations of the White House. Thank you, Miss President, for putting up the decorations. Miss First Lady, not Miss President. Oh, look, they got state candles. Dang. This is new. This just came out the other day. What are you saying? You think that I didn't know that they do this every time there's a president? A woman does this every year? Did you see Jill's decorations? It was like rainbow transgenders with their titties out. Well, that's nice. Why is this 2 minutes long when it's over? Oh, it's not over. That's a pretty room. The blue butterflies represent the foster care children she's working with. Isn't that nice? Bro, this looks way better than Jill's dang Christmas. This commercial is years old? No, it's not. Don't lie to me. This is from 7 days ago. What do you mean this is years old? No, it's not. This is this year's Christmas decorations at the White House. Look, you see that, Marilyn? How is this Christmas? How is this years old? You see what that says right there? Why am I not full screen? Do you see what that says right there? That says America 250. This is this year. Crazy ass. Don't be questioning me. They do one every year, Marilyn. Stop distracting me. You don't know what you're talking about. That's a lot of decorations. Democrats are going to be like, you know, you could feed Somalia with the money you spent on those decorations. All right, so I just wanted to play those two things to get into the Christmas spirit a little bit. Christmas with the White House, but we're quickly gonna shift gears. Oh wait, no. I do not want to transition. I don't want to. Don't clip that. I don't want to Yeah, it's the spirit of Christmas. That was the point of that. Because now we're going to talk about Trump calling people retards and banning Somalians and third world country immigrants from coming into America. Christmas at the White House, baby. Let's go. More colorful than the one. Dude, Jill sucked every year. I remember we were making fun of him one year. It was like weird stuff. Have to have a little representation of everything. You got like the Jew room. You got the Kwanzaa room. You got the pagan room. All right. So, okay, this started Thanksgiving. Trump puts out this long tweet on True Social, ranting about immigration, hinting at things like, replacement and what's happening to the culture in America, and calls Tim Walz a retard. Tim Walz gets offended. So we're going to be jumping around out of order because I don't have an exact timeline down for this one. I just grabbed the articles. But now the most recent thing is Somalia. This all stems from the National Guardsman being shot. The two National Guardswoman being shot. And Trump's tightening up on this third world country immigration. We're blowing up boats in Venezuela in the Gulf of America, baby. Shutting down the border. Stopping the third worlders from coming over. So let's play this. Trump says he doesn't want Somalian migrants in the U.S., calls people garbage. Didn't they call us garbage? Deplorables, garbage, half the country? Let's hear what, now this, we're not doing full screen on this. I just want to do full screen on the Christmas stuff, but, this one will go here. Oh, I should have fixed this before. Sorry. I don't pay my producer enough. If I do this and this, then it's this. Okay. Hold on. My bad, y'all. I'm tired. Okay. So this is the Somali speech. Now, this is like the newest development, and we might kind of work backwards from here to show the lead up to all this.
Ripped off.
The point is, Trump's saying some base stuff, as usual. But a lot of people have been doubting the boy, saying he's not deporting people fast enough. What's up, Wrath of Reason? All right, here we go.
Off that state for billions of dollars. Billions. Every year. Billions of dollars. And they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%. They contribute nothing. I don't want.
Is he saying 88% of the Somalian immigrants, mostly in Minnesota, where retard Tim Walz dwells, 88% of them are on welfare? Of the legal ones, 88% of the legal ones are on welfare. And I bet the illegal ones are getting welfare too, but they can't keep track of that because they're illegal.
Want them in our country, I'll be honest with you, okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's
Let's
no
go.
good for a reason. Their country stinks, and we don't want them in our country. I can say that about other countries, too.
The country stinks.
I can say it about other countries, too. We don't want them to hell. We have to rebuild our country. You know, our country's at a tipping point. We could go bad. We're at a tipping point. I don't know if people mind me saying that, but I'm saying it. We could go one way or the other, and we're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country.
Damn.
Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage.
Ooh.
Her friends are garbage.
Ooh.
These aren't people that...
I think he says she married her brother in this, which, dude, we've all been saying that for years. If Trump says she married her brother.
These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. These are people that do nothing but complain. They complain. And from where they came from, they got...
They're taught in their country before they come over here, just complain and beg and people will give you free stuff.
nothing. You know, they came from paradise and they said, this isn't paradise. But when they come from hell and they complain and do nothing but bitch, we don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it.
Based. Let's go, Trump. Trump's savage out here. Okay, so from MSL now, Trump used a slur against Tim Walz. We're jumping back to the lead up to this. Maybe I should have played that video after I read this stuff, but I wanted to start it off strong. I like that that little speech right there. Note how few Republicans have criticized the president for invoking the word long used as a pejorative for people with disability. Oh my God. None of the Republicans are calling out Trump for calling Tim Walz the R slur. Oh my God. These people are so out of touch with the youth. Much has been made of the fact that after President Donald Trump posted a social media screed? What's a screed? About immigrants in which he called Minnesota Governor Tim Walz seriously retarded. A Republican state senator in Indiana, Mike Bohasek, said he was offended by the president's slur and that he would oppose redistricting efforts. But notice that few other Republicans have spoken up against Trump invoking the word long used as a pejorative for people with disabilities. When I asked House Speaker Mike Johnson about it, he said, "That's not the word I would choose." I think his reaction was probably a spontaneous one to an enormous amount of fraud that was announced there. When I asked Senator Bill Cassidy, he said, "I didn't hear that, so I'd rather not comment on things that I'm not aware of." Trump called Tim Walz a retard. Now, I wish I could have found that True Social rant. Here's Tim Walz's response. He's fiery. He's upset. He's not happy.
Have you weigh in on this, because part of your initial response to President Trump's post was to call for him to release the results of his MRI. I want to give you
So Tim Walz says, "I'm not a retard, Trump. You release your brain scan, and then we'll see who's retarded." Dude, Trump's got like 150 IQ, buddy.
chance to give our viewers exactly a sense of what you mean. What exactly were you suggesting by that, Governor?
Well, here we got a guy on Thanksgiving where we spent time with our families, we ate, we played Yahtzee, we cheered for football or whatever. This guy is apparently in a room ranting about everything else. This is not normal behavior. It is not.
I mean, he's trying to get away from the hubbub and the family and the commotion.
Not healthy. And presidents throughout time have released a couple things. They've released their tax returns, not Donald Trump, and they've released their medical records, not Donald Trump. And look, the MRI is one thing, but I think what's most concerning about this is, as your viewers out there are listening, has anyone in the history of the world ever have an MRI assigned to them and have no idea what it was for, as he says? So look, it's clear the president's fading physically. I think the mental capacity, again, ranting, you know.
I love this. After Joe Biden for 4 years, I love this, how they just try to turn it. You think just because two people are the same age, you can automatically think that people are going to, oh yeah, he's old, he must be dying. I guess Democrats will gobble up whatever you put in front of him. But he's still sharp, you know. Maybe he's having some health issues, but he's not retarded, Tim. He doesn't try to put tampons in boys' bathrooms. He doesn't allow his state and his city, his main city, to be overran by Somalians, Tim. That's retarded. He doesn't do that. Maybe he slips up his words every now and then. The man's 80 years old. He's spent 5 years as president. He's been being attacked constantly, beset by all sides by his enemies for 10 years. He's handling it pretty well, Tim. You're not doing so hot, and you don't got any stress. You're chilling.
crazily at midnight on Thanksgiving about everything else, there's reasons for us to be concerned. This is a guy that randomly says the airspace over Venezuela is closed. He's ruminating on if you could win a nuclear war. Look, this is a serious position.
We could, yeah, duh.
It's the most powerful position in the world. And we have someone at midnight throwing around slurs that demonize our children. At the same time, he's not solving any of the problems. So,
bro, he's keeping up with the Zoomers.
I'm deeply concerned that he is incapable of doing the job.
Governor,
I'm deeply concerned that you're incapable of discerning between a man and a woman, Tim. Anyway, let's see what People Magazine. Everybody's flipping out about Trump using the R slur. Well, everybody on the left. Trump stands by use of the R word while criticizing Tim Walz. I think there's something wrong with him. There's something wrong with that boy. He doubles down. I love it. Trump doubled down on his use of the derogatory insult while talking. Dude, retard is back, baby. Retard is back. We almost got faggot. Sorry. Beep. They're coming back, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on to your butts. It's about to be like Xbox Live days on Halo. Grand Theft Auto. Donald Trump is standing by his comments about Minnesota Governor Tim Walz after recently lobbing a derogatory remark his way. While speaking to reporters aboard Air Force One on Sunday, November 30th, as he traveled back to Washington, D.C. from Florida, Trump, he's not even 80, he's 79, was asked about using the R word. The R word. Dun, dun, dun. That boy ain't right. On True Social, Trump has been discussing immigration and the Somali community in Minnesota at the time before he aimed the offensive slur for people with intellectual disabilities at this. I mean, if the shoe fits, wear it. Intellectual disabilities at the state's Democratic leader, writing, "The seriously retarded governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, does nothing either through fear, incompetence, or both." The president was then asked by a reporter on Sunday, "You mentioned Tim Walz and you called him beep," what many Americans do find an offensive word, retarded, questioning whether he stood by his comments per a clip shared by the White House. Yeah. Yeah, I think there's something wrong with him. Absolutely, sure. Yeah, he's retarded. Anybody that would do what he did, anybody that would allow those people into a state and pay billions of dollars to Somalia, we give billions of dollars to Somalia. That's retarded. Like, it's true. What do you want him to say? Reminds me of the Nick Fuentes and Piers Morgan interview. By the way, I'm working on a Juicy Reacts. At least some ideas. I don't know how long it's going to take me to get it out. I need to do it quickly, though. To Nick Fuentes and Piers Morgan. I just got to pick the best parts. I got to trim down my clips a little bit. But stay tuned. Okay, back to this. So he doubles down. He said, "Did you really call Tim Walz retarded, Trump?" Yep. Yeah. Have you seen him? I mean, nice. Walz wrote, "Release the MRI results." So we already played that. Here's how, lefty late night comedians like Jon Stewart, these guys, Jimmy Kimmel, how the media's reacting to this. Jon Stewart on Trump claiming not to know about his own MRI. That's not physically possible. Late night hosts discussed the president alleging he knows nothing about a recent revealed MRI scan from October. I mean, he's busy. Doctor's probably telling him the results while handing the papers while he's walking out the door and he's on the phone or he's with people doing a meeting. And he's like, okay. Yeah. I'm getting old. I know. You don't want to hear about that. As the Thanksgiving spirit gave way to the work week, Jon Stewart tore into the president for using an ableist slur to describe Minnesota governor, blah, blah, blah. True Social post. We know he called him a retard. On Thanksgiving, are you confusing that with Festus? The Daily Show explained on Monday evening. I don't get it. Days later, asked by reporters if he regretted his remark, Trump doubled down. You were sitting with your family at Thanksgiving, belly full of turkey and pie, surrounded by the love of your extended crime family, but your initial instinct was to truth a slur at Tim Walz. And there's something wrong with him. The press corps had to spend the whole holiday weekend down at Mar-a-Lago listening to this brain news, and then they couldn't even go back home by themselves. He added they had to fly back with this nut and ask him if he wants to clarify any of this nonsense. In fact, Trump attempted to assuage recurring concerns about his health and cognitive abilities, including a recently revealed MRI scan in October, by claiming that he had no idea what part of the body was even scanned. I don't know. They just put me in a tube. What do I look like? A doctor? I'm the president. That's not. It was just an MRI. He said, what part of the body? It wasn't the brain. Because I took a cognitive test and I aced it. First place. That's not physically possible, Stewart responded. To have no idea, it's not possible. What would you say to the doctor? No, don't tell me. I want to find out my MRI reveal party. Okay. So, yeah, he's basically Trump got an MRI. The point is, I don't really care about Jon Stewart. The point is, he got an MRI done. And they asked him about it. He's like, I don't know. You didn't care about Biden's tests. Why do you care so much about mine? So, anyway, all this stuff revolves around the Somalis. It's not just happening in Minnesota. It's happening in Dearborn. It's happening in New York. It's happening all over the country. Those are just the ones we focus. Those are like the big ones where it's noticeable. You can see it happening, but it's really happening everywhere. It's happening in every major city. Don't let anybody lie to you. The Muslim third world country invasion. And we watched it happen in Europe, and now it's happening here. And the left is going to deny it. They're going to try to sweep it under the rug, or they're going to placate them. I hear a lot of, I heard some people debating about this on some stream, and they were saying, yeah, they're coming over, but it's not really a threat because there's just not enough of them. And you're not ever going to get the vote. Like, the Muslim vote is never going to outweigh the Christian American type votes. And they kind of moved on to the next point, but I was listening and I was thinking, no, but you don't understand. It's not just the Muslim vote. It's all the white liberal women's vote too, because they sympathize with the Muslims because they're oppressed. You know, it's all the white liberal women's votes, and the white liberal women form consensus. Women form consensus. Women can get things pushed through because they're usually 51% of the population, and they're loud, and they ain't got shit to do. So they're like, let's go vote, girlfriends. Let's go. Oh, we're going to do some social justice. And they'll go out and vote for crazy stuff. And so you get all, when you have, it's not just the Muslim vote. You get the liberal white women, and then you get their little liberal cuck boyfriends to vote with them because they're going to do what their girlfriend says instead of the other way around. And now you got all them. Now it becomes a liberal progressive movement of, you know, they need human rights and we need to take care of them. We got to make sure they're safe. They're asylum seekers. Their country is going through trouble right now. We need to help them. So it is happening. And I just want to show you, this is the protesters protesting to protest in Minnesota, Somalians. Here we go. A little Somalian protest.
What do you think about
And they all have Ilhan Omar pictures. The chick who married her brother.
waxaynu soo baxnay yayna
And YouTubers are doing videos where they go down here and they try to get interviews. None of these people speak anything close to English, by the way. So that's happening. PJ Media, Minnesota Dem loses in a wild rant over Trump and Somali contest. Comments. This is just more about the little battle between Tim Walz and Trump here. But speaking of Ilhan Omar, Trump had this speech and talked about her. Is this the one where he says she had sex with her brother? I'm pretty sure he says it. Let's listen to this.
Beautiful state. It's a hellhole right now. And the Somalians should be out of here. They've destroyed our country.
In a meeting with automotive industry leaders on Wednesday, Trump repeated his view from the previous day that Somalians shouldn't be in Minnesota, the state home to the largest Somali diaspora in the country. On Tuesday, he had described Somalis as garbage, remarks that Somalis said insulted both their people and their homeland. On Wednesday, he also targeted Somali-American Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, who represents Minnesota's 5th district.
She shouldn't be allowed to be a congresswoman, and I'm sure people are looking at that, and she should be thrown the hell out of our country.
Woo-hoo-hoo! She married her brother.
Here is what Omar had to say.
The president has...
I think he does say it in that speech. He drops a little line about it. They say she married her brother. I don't know. We're looking into it. But they cut that in the Reuters clip. Now let's see Ilhan respond to this. I can't wait to hear what she has to say.
Has always had very bigoted, xenophobic, Islamophobic.
All the words, all the stupid words that liberals use to try to control people, the made up words.
Comments when it comes to, people who are of Muslim faith or people who are black. We've seen him call
women, black people, handicapped people, brown people, Muslim people, people from other countries, gay people, trans people. You're just a bigot, Trump. We're just bigoted.
African nations as shitholes. And so it's not really surprising. But what is weird to me is just how creepy he's been obsessed with me and the Somali community.
Somali Americans in Minnesota condemned Trump's remarks.
It feels very irresponsible of him.
Oh, this guy's fake as shit. You know how I know? Because he speaks English.
I know we've all become accustomed to him acting very rash and just saying whatever he feels at the moment, but that's no way to run a country, and that's no way to be the leader of the free world.
The president has increased his attacks
like some fucking commie gobbledygook
on Somalis in the US since last week's shooting of 2 National Guard troops in Washington. An Afghan national has been charged for that attack, which killed one of the troops. Trump last month said he was immediately terminating temporary deportation protections for Somalis living in Minnesota, saying,
"You're getting deported. Bye."
Somali gangs were terrorizing the state without offering evidence or details. Local officials say Trump's portrayal is untrue. A total of 705 Somalis are in the country with temporary protected statuses, according to government records. Trump's comments come amid broader attacks on migrants from, quote, third world countries. Meanwhile, the Trump administration further tightened its immigration policy on Wednesday, announcing the increased vetting of applicants for the H-1B visas.
See, so they backed down on the just handing out H-1Bs because we got loud about it. We got vocal. So they're still doing H-1Bs, but they're tightening down on the vetting process. Let's go. All right, so that's it for all that stories. Now we got some internet drama. Tim Pool's involved in 2 of these. Well, not internet drama, really. Because it involves Tpusa. Well, first, Tim Pool's house was shot at. Right-wing commentator Tim Pool says a car opened fire on his home late at night. This is from People. Right-wing political commentator Tim Pool said his home was involved in a late-night gunfire attack. In a post on Saturday, December 6th, Pool wrote, "Last night, a vehicle approached our property and opened fire," detailing that no one was hurt. The podcast host, who is married to producer Allison Neubauer, continued, "Our security team is reviewing the incident and will be relaying the report to appropriate law enforcement." So Tim Pool's house got shot up, and he's been a victim of a lot of like SWATs and attacks like this. I think this video from The Independent here is one of the times he got swatted on air, because I don't think he was live when this shooting happened. But yeah, the people show up at Fuentes' house with guns. They killed Charlie Kirk. Steven Crowder was doing a Change My Mind, and he got rushed off by his security in the middle of it the other day. I don't know what was happening. I don't know what the threat was. They're probably being extra cautious, so maybe it wasn't anything too extreme. But yeah. But the left is less violent. The right is more violent. Okay. Poole, who hosts the Culture War podcast, has millions of followers across YouTube, Instagram, and X. He rose to prominence during the Occupy Wall Street movement in 2011 and during his time as a reporter with Vice. He did not specify where. He's got a whole compound with like people on, lots of security, fences. So shooting at my house could mean they just like from the driveway they were shooting through the fence toward the property, but it never got anywhere near like where anybody was at. That's possible. We had an earthquake in Japan. What's Hindustan Times saying? I can't get this ad, so I can't do this article. Oh, wait, there we go. He claimed that someone opened fire near his property. Yeah, no real updates on that. Just a little story, but how long is this video? I don't even know if I want to watch this video about this. I just want to get into the other craziness, and it doesn't really involve Tim, but a little bit. So Candace, Charlie Kirk, TPUSA, update on that. I haven't really been covering anything much unless there's a court date with Tyler Robinson, and we've covered those. He's going to be allowed to wear his own clothes in the courtroom. By the way, well, I have a little update on the Luigi Mangione trial and rapid fire, but we'll get to that. But he did the same thing with the being able to wear his own clothes, and he's in the courtroom smiling. Courtroom photographer knows exactly what they're doing, taking pictures of him in the best light to make him look like, like a preppy college kid. He looks all handsome, and we're right back there where the ladies are swooning over him. The court of public opinion. Ladies are swooning over Luigi Mangione. Ladies form consensus. Ladies show up at the protest. Guys show up at the protest to try to bang the ladies who are at the protest. So they just agree and nod their head. Yep, we like assassins. We like vigilant. We like people who just kill healthcare CEOs because we don't like insurance payout. Guess what? Insurance is a scam. Anybody could have told you that. Social Security is a scam. Welfare is a scam. It's all a scam. The hospital and medical industrial complex is a scam. It's all a scam. Just do what I do. And never mind, I'm not going to say that. So anyway, I went off on a tangent. We're talking about Candace Owens. We're talking about TPUSA, Charlie Kirk, shooters. Anyway, Candace Owens has been deep into this, and she's going down all the rabbit trails, following all the breadcrumbs. And I'm just going to say what she's implying is on day 2 or 3 after this happened, if you remember, people are going to get mad, but I said, just thinking out loud, just, being conspiracy brained, when somebody's killed, the first person you want to look to is the spouse. And there's a lot of motive. If you go down that trail, there's a lot of motive there. Now, I'm not saying that Erica Kirk was involved, but Candace is. Candace is saying TPUSA knew. Charlie was texting before he died that he was going to be killed. Everybody's denouncing Candace, saying, no, that's wrong. No, no, no. I don't like Candace Owens. I've never liked Candace Owens. But, you know, we don't know yet. And I don't think we're ever going to know the whole truth, because this is like every shooting. Every time a major figure is shot by a lone gunman, there's always a lot of questions. And, you know, Candace is asking those questions. So I actually respect that she's asking the questions that everybody's telling her, you can't ask that. Don't go down that trail. That's wrong. You can't say that. And, you know, I say go down the trail, Candace. I'll listen. I'm not just going to nod my head and agree with you and be like, oh, Candace is right, and jump on the train like Milo. But I'll listen. I'll hear you out. So that's what starts this. Candace makes some big claims. So let me read from the Times of India, and a lot of this stuff, Hindustan Times and Times of India. But it was Erica. Candace Owens questions whether Erica Kirk authorized TPUSA live stream plans and controversial message. The heated clash between conservative commentator Candace Owens and Turning Point USA has taken an unexpected turn, with Owens now aiming her criticism directly at Erica Kirk, the widow of late TPUSA founder Charlie Kirk. And remember, a while ago, Candace said, listen, I'm going down this trail. I'm going to search every lead, and the only person who can tell me to stop is Erica. But now she's kind of having different thoughts, and it's just interesting because I don't know. Anyway, a lot of people were kind of going down this little rabbit trail from the beginning. But what began as a disagreement over scheduling a live stream to address Owens' allegations about Kirk's killing has now spilled into a conversation about leadership, transparency, and who is truly calling the shots at TPUSA. Candace Owens insists she never backed out of speaking publicly, but claims the organization attempted to control the narrative by changing terms at the last minute and refusing to let her join virtually. Now she's questioning Erica Kirk's role in it all. Candace Owens alleges that Erica Kirk orchestrated TPUSA live stream drama. Now, she's not implying that she's not directly implying that Erica was involved in Charlie's death. But she does imply that TPUSA was involved, and she does imply that Erica Kirk pulls the strings at TPUSA. Erica Kirk is the new CEO of TPUSA, and she's made billions of dollars since taking over. If you recall, one of the big gripes about TPUSA was that it was very feminized. It was very feminine. And then they started bringing in like gay stuff back with the Groyper Wars when that happened. And they backed off that a little bit. That was nice. But it was always kind of feminine. Always had a feminine energy, because Charlie knew that women form consensus, like I keep saying, that the women can vote. So you have to use that chip. You have to use that piece on the board. Otherwise, you lose. You can't just go around saying women shouldn't vote, women shouldn't vote, women shouldn't vote. Women do vote. So you have to get the women's vote, right? And TPUSA knew that. So it was always kind of feminine. And then it starts moving more, you know, because Charlie's got his finger on the pulse of the culture, starts moving towards this Zoomer kind of, you know, traditional, let's get the men back in charge type line of thinking. Starts moving away from the Israel stuff, moving away from the gay stuff, moving away from the feminist stuff. Starts getting a little more based. And then Charlie ends up dead. And now it's being ran by a woman. So, where was I going with all this? the feminization is there, and Candace is hinting at Erica being in charge of things, but she's not directly accusing her of anything, except she's directly accusing her of pulling the strings on this interview. Let's watch this video real quick. I'm not saying I'm just covering what's being accused, and some, some conspiracy trails. Where's the, here we go. Erica got the ring. Let's watch this.
No, I'm not running for anything. I want Trump to be president. Trump.
So she says he sent a text saying he was going to be killed. And that people from Tpusa were messaging that they knew about this beforehand, and some wild accusations. Owens claims figures in Tpusa know far more than they are admitting. And apparently, meanwhile, somebody from they tried to kill Candace. Some assassin from France or something tried to kill Candace. I don't even know about that whole story, but Brigitte Macron is suing. Macrons now want to kill Candace too. No, this music's gonna be. I should just mute it. I just didn't know if they were going to be talking about anything. Candace Owens claims Charlie Kirk sent an eerie text to a TPUSA staffer the day before he was shot. The problem is they sent her a fake text to her or a fake email to her her like tips email list, and she read it on the show, and it was a troll. And she didn't pick up on it. So I don't know if she can be trusted. I don't know if she's right about these things. I'm just telling you guys the claims she's making and the theories behind it. Just to let you know that I don't agree with this. Part of the theory, one of the theories is that Trump is involved too. And you know I'm a Trumper. There's one that Trump is involved too. Erica Kirk came up through pageantry. She was Miss what was she, Miss South Carolina or something? And she was introduced to Charlie. While Charlie has this upcoming political movement, she gets introduced to Charlie, who's pulling for Trump. Trump was involved in pageants. She came up through pageants, gets introduced to Charlie. Everybody backs it and pushes it, kind of makes it happen. There's a theory that Trump is involved in this and that Erica, she's an op. Miss Arizona, yes. So I'm just giving you, don't think because I'm saying it means I believe this. And people will be like, well, you shouldn't even be putting this out there, Jay. I'm covering the news. And this is something big that's happening right now. And, I can't not talk about the conspiracies forever. We have to address them at some point. I waited for a while out of respect, but there's some crazy theories going around. And I told you it's going to be like this. There's going to be people writing books about this for the next 50 years. So I don't trust her like Erica Kirk. She acts insane, smiling and wearing leather. I don't know that she killed. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying she directly did, but that's one of the theories. But yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, I'm not saying that. But yeah, I get it. Yeah, I don't think so either, but there is motive. I'm just saying. Owen says Kirk feared for his life and warned the staffer writing, "They are going to kill me." She claims the message was never fully revealed publicly and believes powerful figures within TPUSA are hiding something. Okay, this is a dumb video. It's just making me read stuff. But yeah, so that's what's going on. Now, this is TPUSA responding to Candace and basically calling her out to come on the show. Now, I'm not sure if this is the interview that they're referring to that got canceled, but I'm pretty sure this is newer than that article we just read, and that this is still going to happen. After enduring months of harassment due to Candace Owens, Turning Point USA responds to her.
Segment at the top of this hour to say something important, something very important. For the past 2.5 months, there is a topic that has flooded our Freedom inbox. It has been nonstop on social media, but which we have almost totally avoided on this show. You probably already know what I'm talking about, which shows...
I agree, Auntie. She got on with everything real quick. Didn't seem like much of a crazy grieving process. Seemed more like a takeover process, like instantly.
Was just how ubiquitous it has been. Ever since Charlie's murder, Candace Owens has leveled a flood of allegations against people at Turning Point USA, people at Turning Point Action, and people who work for this show. She has made them against some of Charlie's closest friends and against some of his most dedicated employees. She has suggested that Michael McCoy, Charlie's chief of staff, knew Charlie would be murdered, was happy that he died, and stayed silent because he was told he would be the next Charlie. She has suggested Michael is not his real name. It is. I have seen his birth certificate myself. She has called it suspicious that Mikey's wife, who works at Turning Point, helped plan the campus tour event where Charlie was murdered, which she didn't, by the way. She doesn't work on campus events. Candace has suggested the Utah Valley University event was unusual and its details suggested a, quote, inside job. She has claimed that foreign aircraft have followed Erica Kirk around.
I told you that after the Mike Lee and or Spencer Cox and Charlie interview before it happened. I said, well, maybe I didn't say it. I said it when it happened, but I covered that interview, and I was like, yeah, they were talking a lot about security and how people were already gonna be there. Yeah, it was a weird interview.
Around the country, and that Turning Point has lied about this happening. She has accused us of lying about Charlie wanting Erica to take over for him if he died. She has suggested Charlie's security team intentionally denied him first aid after the shooting to ensure that he died. She has raised suspicions about...
That's not true. If you listen to Frank Turek's breakdown of the moment by moment, because Frank Turek was the guy that was standing right behind Charlie. That's Charlie's spiritual mentor, religious mentor. Frank Turek's cool, but he's the guy in the white hat that was standing behind Charlie that they said was doing signals and stuff. And he was there in the vehicle while they took Charlie to the hospital, and he gave a moment by moment breakdown of it, which is one of the most powerful, because, you know, after Charlie died, everybody did their addressing the situation video or whatever. His was the best. But, yeah, his security team wasn't applying he was dead instantly. Like, before he could even register that he was in pain, he was dead. So, I don't know what this, why Candace would make that claim.
The head of our technical team because he took an SD card out of a camera. She has spread absurd claims that Tyler Boyer, who we just had on the show, sexually abuses male interns. She has suggested that TPUSA faith-affiliated pastors, like theologian Frank Turek, who we'll have on in a moment, and Pastor Rob McCoy, are part of a military, quote, infiltration of Turning Point, either because they are veterans or because they have family members who are.
So she was running with the signal theory.
Even if not everyone has been named specifically, though, Candace has effectively tarred everyone here with complicity in Charlie's...
And, well, I'm just going to jump to my theory here. I think there's a power void and everybody's vying for that spot. Fuentes, Candace, Milo, and we're going to get to Milo because it gets worse. It's not just Candace now. Milo's making outrageous claims. And everybody's vying for that TPUSA audience. They don't think Erica's going to be able to carry it, which I kind of agree. I think they're going to lose. Well, they gained right after his death because of that passion that just like after 9/11, America was united and blah, 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 all that stuff. But are they going to be able to retain the audience and the fire that he brought to TPUSA? I don't think Erica's going to be able to keep that up. I think it's going to become more of like an entity now than a movement. And so everybody's trying to get that spot. And I don't know. I think Fuentes is going about it the right way, and Candace and Milo are going about it the wrong way by just attacking TPUSA, attacking Erica, post-death calling Charlie gay. Milo, we'll talk about that in a second, but I think this is pretty long. I'm going to keep playing it though.
His death by repeatedly saying
we're early. We're making good time.
He was, quote, betrayed by, quote, everyone. She has said Charlie's murder, quote, had to be approved by Charlie's friends, and then suggested those friends might have her murdered too for, quote, knowing the truth. She has made claims of financial impropriety and fraud at Turning Point, adding up into the millions of dollars, which, again, is not true. Charlie made sure the organization was audited by a third party every year. He personally reviewed and he signed off on every expense report, and literally every single bill paid by the organization down to a single United States dollar. We have never missed a 9/90 deadline. Candace has made other stranger allegations involving French paratroopers in maroon shirts, Egyptian Air Force planes flying out of Provo, Utah.
What the hell? Dude, Candace has taken every lead. Now, to be fair, he keeps saying she's making these claims. What she's doing is she's following leads, and she's reporting on the leads, and she's saying, here's something we heard. She talked about how somebody had messaged her about how there's tunnels underneath the thing, and there's a vent there in the ground that goes to underground tunnels. They're like water channel tunnels, but when there's no water, they're empty. And then the ground crew was in there tearing up stuff the next day, tearing up the concrete, that maybe there was some low angle shooter. So she's just going down all the leads, which I don't really think there's a problem with that. I don't think she's saying all of these are true, especially when some of them contradict each other. Like, you can't say that there's an underground tunnel shooter shooting upwards, but then also say there's a bush shooter over here shooting, because then you contradict yourself. So what you're doing is you're just throwing out, okay, there's this theory. Let's look into this. Okay, there's this theory. Let's look into this. So he may be being unfair here a little bit.
And potential underground assassins traveling through unseen tunnels. At one point in early November, she started wildly throwing suspicion on members of Utah Valley's soccer team for wearing hoodies. I could go on. There is always something new coming up, and none of it ever pans out, because from the start, there has been nothing there. The attacks and allegations from Candace are either lies or they are innuendos thrown around with a total, reckless disregard for the truth, so that Candace can manipulate and string along an audience of people who don't realize they are being played. Instead of being able to grieve properly after one of the most heinous murders in American history, a murder many of us had to witness, my friends have had to endure harassment from people who have gotten whipped up by what Candace is saying. In fact, I would say we have suffered more harassment from these people than we have from Antifa supporters who overtly celebrate Charlie's murder. And just like a lot of those Antifa members, many of these people take this delight in how gross and unpleasant they can be. What our friends have had to endure is not funny, and it's not insignificant. It is evil. I have seen it. For months, we have received hundreds, thousands, I suspect, emails and calls asking us to respond. people have wanted us to invite Candace on the show. But for a long time, our approach was to say nothing. We did that for several reasons. First, we thought that her prevarications were so absurd that nobody would believe them. We shouldn't have to answer questions about secret tunnels or Egyptian Air Force planes. That sort of thing is just, it's beneath contempt to respond to. The second reason we've said so little, though, is because there's a good rule of thumb, which Charlie followed. Do not feed the trolls. Focus on the mission. Reviving America, uplifting young people, making heaven crowded. Don't give air to people who want to tear you down and sow discord.
Yeah, there's always, whenever there's something like this, somebody's attacking you, there's haters, there's people making up rumors and lying about you. You can either ignore it or you can address it. And I think eventually you have to address it, but I don't know. There's certain people who are pros at ignoring it, and it just disappears eventually, and they just keep moving through it. But I don't know. Candace has a huge audience, and so with this, I mean, maybe eventually you got to address it.
Lastly, we didn't respond because Charlie always viewed Candace as a friend, and we were holding out hope that she would return that friendship and stop what she was doing. But a week from now, it's going to be 3 months since Charlie's murder. Candace has not changed her behavior. She has continued to spread falsehoods about Charlie's friends, and she continues to concoct new ones about new people. She's using these falsehoods to enrich herself while dividing the conservative movement at an absolutely critical time for this country. And far too often, we here have heard from ordinary people, people who loved Charlie and who Charlie loved so much in return. These people have expressed the worry that we are staying silent out of cowardice or as some sort of tacit admission that some of the attacks are true. Neither is the case. Our silence has never been, and it will never be, equal to complacency or approval. Still,
I don't know how long this goes for. There's no timer on Instagram.
Decided Charlie would not allow this to go on. Charlie was not a coward. Charlie was a fighter. Charlie would not allow someone to spread lies about the people closest to him with impunity. And he would feel ashamed if other people were stepping up to defend his friends while he never did so himself. Candace has mentioned several times that the ball is in our court. So here's what is going to happen. In the near future, there will be a live stream here in Phoenix where we address in a clear and comprehensive way the claims and accusations, the false accusations that have been made against Charlie's family, friends, and the people here at Turning Point. We plan to walk through everything carefully and thoroughly. If Candace is available, we would sincerely welcome her participation in that live stream at our studio here in Phoenix. At this point, we believe the ball is back in her court. Our motivation for doing this is...
And then so apparently Candace agrees to do this, but then at the last minute they say, no, you can't do it in person. You have to do it on a live stream. And then they start changing conditions. But then Candace claims Erica shut it down. I don't know what they're claiming. Are they saying that she backed out? She didn't show up? Either could be true. I don't know, but
not out of any obligation to Candace.
I'm not sure how long this is. If there's no timer on this, so if this is like an hour, I can't watch the whole thing. Anyway, so that goes down. Then Milo goes on Tim Pool, and that's Tim Pool's connection to all this, is that he hosted Milo and George Santos, and they were talking about Charlie, and Milo claims that Charlie was gay, and he starts taking it even farther, and he's on Team Candace, and he's just trying to get relevant, you know. Allegations by Milo Yiannopoulos about Charlie and Erica Kirk were aired on Tim Pool's show and quickly amplified. Milo Yiannopoulos has asserted has asserted on a high-profile podcast that Charlie Kirk was about to divorce his wife, Erica, and that Kirk was secretly gay. Why is this lady in cat pajamas on my screen? Explosive allegations that have rippled across conservative media and social platforms without independent verification. The remarks made during a widely watched episode on Tim Pool's Timcast IRL were repeated across X and other channels and provoked swift condemnation from some guests on the show and from commentators online. The episode has also prompted questions about sourcing, the distinction between allegation and fact, and the real-world consequences of rapid, unverified claims in the aftermath of a political assassination. Milo voiced the assertion, the future blah, 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 segmented circulated clips. On screen, here we go. So he says Charlie Kirk was gay and about to divorce Erica Kirk before his untimely assassination. Yiannopoulos also said that Kirk spread false rumors and he slept with... Man, I don't even want it. Dude. And this guy, Milo, dude, a lot of conservatives like Milo. I never liked Milo. He did some good debates. He did a couple debates and he seemed like a smart guy in the very beginning of his little run. But he was gay. And now apparently he's recovered gay. Brandon Tatum covered this and he's like, dude, this guy used to talk about having gay orgies. like, and now a dead man, he's calling it saying he was gay. I don't want to hear it from Milo, but we're going to hear it from Milo.
Per show, although I do watch her religiously. That's the queen. I'm always a couple of days behind watching on the show because I've got stuff going on. But somebody tweeted today that Candace said that she believed that they were about to get a divorce. I think he was gay. I think he was gay. And
come on, you know that you do know that I've criticized.
Now, to be fair, he said I think he was gay. I think a lot of people are secretly gay, but let's try to be fair.
Like I'm sorry, Tim, but like, why would you even go there? Like to say something like that?
Oh, I'll tell you why.
No. The man's dead. You're calling now. You think he's gay?
That's when people can talk. That's when people can tell the truth.
I know. I disagree.
That's when people can tell the truth because let me tell you.
When people are dead, then you can tell the truth about them. Wow. What's up, Agrippolus? I don't know if I'm saying your name right. Agrippolus. Agrippolus.
Let me tell you why, okay? And if you want to read in a vindictive crusade on my part for everything I've just said, you are entitled to do so, and so are the viewers. But I'll tell you what happened. I'll tell you what Charlie Kirk did to me. Charlie was a very, very brilliant organizer, fundraiser, networker. Those three things, phenomenal. Probably the best in the business, maybe. Certainly one of the top 2, 3. Amazing at those things. But he was also very ruthless. He was a very ruthless person who spent a long time excising and excommunicating all of the most interesting people in politics from the right wing. He did it for a decade. Everybody knows it. Nobody said it because it's not polite in the aftermath of his death.
Charlie gave a platform.
Let me finish. He gave a platform to lily-livered, centrist, weak frauds, faggots, and prostitutes, and drag queens. What he also did at that same time.
I mean, he's not totally wrong, but also you were one of them, Milo. So he didn't give you a platform. You're just mad he didn't give you a platform, but you were one of the lily-livered faguas at the time. You're just mad he didn't give you a platform.
What he also did at that same time, and anybody in power, what he also did at that same time was systematically extinguish the light of anybody who could not be controlled. And I'm one of them, and I'm going to tell you what happened. When you hear rumors about sexual impropriety about me now, most people are like, yeah, probably true. There's a reason for that. Charlie, when I was at the height of my fame, the height of my popularity, Charlie made up a rumor that I was having sex with children on campuses, underage boys on college campuses, and I was selling them drugs. And he did that because there was no other way they could seize a monopoly on college campuses because I was...
Well, too bad he's dead and he can't defend against this claim. Maybe you were having sex with underage guys and selling drugs. I know, well, I don't know for sure, but I remember the last big debate that Milo had before, well... Actually, this was kind of recent. Who was it with? I think it was Destiny. It was Destiny, and it was at... Wasn't it CPAC? They were on a stage, and they were at tables. Alex Jones was there, and Milo was coked out of his mind. It was a convention. I don't know that for sure, but he came out late. He's all disheveled. He comes out of the back, and he's Milo is full of anger, and this is his vengeance. Yeah. So I think it's very possible Milo was sleeping with dudes on college campuses and selling them drugs or buying drugs from them. I think that's totally possible. So I'd like to, unfortunately, Charlie's dead, so we can't hear his response to this. Charlie might be like, yeah, he was. And I might be like, sounds about right.
It was just so totally dominant. And they didn't have anybody in the influencer line because at that time, Charlie was a really shitty speaker. He got a lot better towards the end. I think he got a lot better man towards the end, honestly. I think having kids really changed him, if I'm honest. But at that time, very ruthless person. And they had nobody that could go up against me. He made up that lie. He forced every Turning Point chapter, and everybody has heard 20 instances where Turning Point has canceled somebody. Everybody knows.
Okay, so... yeah, it seems like he's just got a chip on his shoulder, and now that the man is dead, like I said, it's a power void. It's a power void, and everybody wants to get that TPUSA slot. And they'll do whatever they can to get it. Making all sorts of claims, but something like that, yeah, there's no reason to even say it. Claim. But he did say, to be fair, he did say... I think he was gay, which I've said that about people all the time who might not be gay, but I'm saying I think they're a little gay. That guy's a little fruity. So, and maybe, you know, a gay guy, if anybody's going to know, I don't know. Just trying to be balanced here, right? Anyway, that's it for the main story news. I do got a story that I wanted to fit into the main news in rapid fire update on the No Kings shooting, but we'll get to that in a moment. First, oh, this shouldn't be in there. Hold on 1 second. Unless you want to see a Dragon Ball Super deck list. Okay. Now, it's time for the un momento. It's time for the memes. Let's go. Meme time. A 57,000 square foot Temu warehouse in China went up in flames today. The total loss of inventory has been estimated to be as high as $56.16. Dang. Next. Oh, this is just a screenshot. Word war debate. So Crowder... seems like Crowder is going to be at the first World War debate. Seeming like it. He accepted a debate with Candace Owens. She declined. This would be epic. This here would be epic. Not really a meme, but, you know. Next. When you meet the Disney version of yourself. Oh, dang. When Disney makes a version of you. That's crazy. It's almost like it's AI. I don't know. Next. The Human Centipede. Merry Christmas, guys. Human Centipede. Ho, ho, ho. You guys gonna check out Human Centipede this year? It's a new movie that's coming out. Who's going to see Human Centipede?
Why are you gay?
Next. Tell your mom to buy better toilet paper. This stuff sucks, and it's making my butthole itchy. Elf on a Shelf. taking a dump on the toast. That is cool. I wish I had kids so I could do funny stuff like that. That's pretty funny. I don't have a sound effect for this. Next. I'm looking at the thing. Question, how does JD Vance pull this off? He wants to drop his Hindu wife, run off with Erica Kirk once he figures the optics won't make him look disgusting, and help turn Tpusa into a college recruiting money laundering machine in time for the 2028 election. TPUSA is being reshaped into pro-Israel mouthpiece, and the problem is that JD can't survive politically if he goes against Tucker, Fuentes, and the entire America First movement, which is completely and aggressively renounced Israeli influence at the time. The rest of the country is sliding harder every day into anti-Israel sentiment. Interesting position he's put himself in. JD's political dilemma. Here's Tucker saying, dump her, down with Israel. Ha! And then we got Erica over here. What's JD going to do? Interesting. Conspiracy theory next. I hope this clears things up. It's a Venn diagram. We love Venn diagrams. Pirates say yo ho ho. Santa says ho ho ho. Gangster rappers say yo ho. Yo ho. Yo ho. Yo ho ho. Ho ho ho. It's a triple Venn diagram. What do they all have in common? Hoes. And different area codes.
You ain't got the answers, man. I've been doing this more than you. You ain't been doing the education.
Bro.
Venn diagram. Education. Next. Democrats can't identify a woman, a criminal, a peaceful protest, dementia, or which bathroom to use, but they sure can identify a fishing boat when they see one. I know when I go fishing, I also carry about 500 gallons of fuel. I cruise at 89 miles per hour and carry no fishing gear. And I usually travel to countries where I have no business. I also carry no identity of any kind and ignore all hailing from ships in the territory. Yeah, it's just a fishing boat, guys. They're just going fishing. Interesting. Next. Bloomberg says, want to slow climate change? Stop having babies. Later, Bloomberg says only immigrants can reverse America's baby bust. So they fear-mongered you about not having babies. But then they tell you, oh, we're not having babies. We need to bring in immigrants. It's a vicious cycle. It's a vicious cycle.
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
Next. I wasn't aware that Muhammad was mentioned in the Bible by Jesus himself. Matthew 24:11, and many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. Dang. That was somebody with a vest. Never mind. Next, 2024, illegals don't use benefits. 2025, how dare Trump take their benefits? Narrative shift complete. Next. Representative Ilhan Omar claims ICE can't find an undocumented Somali migrant. Headline, ICE nabs violent Somalis, including gamebanger and pedophile in Minneapolis raids. Wow. Next. A little bit of Islam study for you. You will kill non-Muslims to receive 72 virgins in heaven. Quran 111. You will kill anyone who leaves Islam. Quran 2:217. You will behead non-Muslims. Quran 8:12 and 47:4. Now, I haven't fact-checked all these. I'm going to save this for later reference, and I'm going to go through and check all these. You will kill and be killed for Allah. I have a lot of them written down in my notes anyway already. Quran 9:5. You will terrorize non-Muslims. Quran 8:12 and 8:60. Steal from non-Muslims. Quran chapter 8. Booty and spoils of war. Lie to strengthen Islam. The taqiyya, deception. Quran 3:28, 3:54, 9:3, 16:106, and 40:28. Okay. Oh no, here comes one. Allahu Akbar. Next. Franklin goes on another adventure, a classic Franklin story. Franklin drives by Tim Waltz's house. Hey, retard. Dang. Next. The modern dictionary, retard. Retard. A contemptuous term used to refer to a person who is cognitively impaired, a person who is stupid, obtuse, or ineffective in some way. A person that is basically a numbnuts. Synonym, Tim Waltz. Next. I thought I had my first period, but the doctor says it's just swollen hemorrhoids. Gross.
It's a man, baby.
Next. And that's it for the memes. All right. Hold on one second. I got some funny reels, and then we got some rapid fire news. Christmas is pagan this year. I've just added to my Christmas is not pagan. Sorry, Christmas is pagan. Christmas is not pagan. Defending the Christmas is pagan claims. That's what we're going to get to at the end here. But we're probably just going to watch a Wes Huff video, one of my favorite defense videos. Every year I just add to the Christmas is not pagan. We're going to focus in on Ishtar and the origins of the Christmas tree this year. And then maybe next week we'll do something different. But that's what we're going to do after Reels and Rapid Fire. I'm just trying to find my folder right now. But first, let's look at some funny Reels, and we cover Rapid Fire news. We have some updates on some stories that we've covered over the past couple months. A rock star's window. Candace was man enough to talk crap about Crowder during his voice, but is scared to debate him face to face. For real. She won't debate nobody. She'll have Nick on her show and sabotage him. But now I don't know about the TPS. I don't know if she's the one who backed out or if they really pulled the plug. But let's go. Hold on one second. Let's go right here. Okay, we got some funny reels. One of these reels is not funny. It's not meant to be in here as a joke. It's actually a tech thing that looks crazy that I've been hearing about. But okay, reels and rapid fire time. Okay, transition. Point of view: the kids thought the dog was doing a Congo line. Okay, so this dog jumps up on this kid and they start doing the Congo, right? The dog's just doing the Congo line. Where's the audio? And then all the kids jump in and they're all doing a Congo line with the dog, but the dog's not doing a Congo. Look at the dogs riding this kid. The parents don't stop it. They're just laughing. The dog's walking around like this on the kid, and they're like, oh, dog's doing a Congo. Okay, anyway. Kids, they're so dumb. Okay, this is the one. This is not in here as a joke. This is actually more of a story, I guess. I'll have to dig into this. Because this is something, we talk about crazy tech and weird transhumanist stuff. I don't know if this is necessarily transhumanist. I mean, it could be in the future. We start putting it on men so they can do work faster. In this application, I think this is actually kind of cool. This woman's a quadriplegic. She's paralyzed from the neck down. And this is an exoskeleton that they have to basically help her to be able to walk. Let's turn the music off. It's crazy. As they stand her up and they straighten her spine out, her hands start like shaking and spazzing out. It's weird. Like, so her nerves are probably, because I don't know, it's probably not normal that they're in this, that she's in this position. She can't stand up. But watch. She's in an exoskeleton. Look, her hand, like... See, they stabilize her arms. And now she's walking. That's crazy. It's really big and clunky. Like, it's not practical at all. But I'm sure they're going to get it smaller and faster really quick. I'm sure they have way more advanced stuff than this in like the military and things like that. But that's wild, these exoskeletons. I've been hearing about it lately in a couple debates. I've heard people bring up exoskeletons, and, you know, it's in the people say you watch too many movies. Okay. It's happening. You don't think we're ever going to have flying cars? I used to say we'd never have flying cars. It's just not practical. It doesn't make sense. There's too much infrastructure problems that you'd have to deal with. And I don't know. At least it's getting crazy. We're in the future, boys. Exoskeletons. What happens when it becomes a household product and everybody's just walking around wearing exoskeletons? That's where it starts to become transhumanist and weird to me. Okay, this one is for funnies. An Asian guy.
I pray to God for the Camry. That car for my family. Oh, a real cutter outie. I fall in love with a Camry.
Fall in love with a
Camry. My mama smashed the door. Handle not there. Number flag gone. Wheel not real. Nobody wanna steal. You wanna buy? Then give me a good deal. I pray to God.
Okay. Thanks, Asian guy. So that's it for the funny reels. We don't have a lot of funny reels here. All right, now let's do rapid fire news. Some headlines and stuff, some updates. So, this week, Matt Alder, who I've been calling out by name 4 months before any media announced his name, any mainstream media or any sourced news or credible source put out the name Matt Alder. I've been saying his name. You know how I figured I put it in groups. The way I found out his name is by following Antifa on Instagram. That's how I found out the name Matt Alder a month after this shooting happened. But this is the shooter from the Salt Lake City No Kings protest. I told you last week that the family was calling for charges to be pressed and that they released his name finally a week or two ago. And this week, they arrested him. This is not a picture of the arrest when it happened. This is after the shooting. And this picture, I had never seen this picture released until now. Not a public one, but charges filed in death at No Kings protest in Salt Lake City. Charges have been filed against the peacekeeper, quote unquote, involved in the death of 39-year-old Alpha Alou. Zim Gill said on Wednesday the suspected shooter, identified as Matt Alder, faces a second-degree felony charge of manslaughter, which is punishable by up to 10 years. That's the only charge. Now, I think there should be like maybe a reckless endangerment charge, and maybe some charges brought up against 5051. I don't know why people message me in the middle of the show. Maybe. Alder was brought in by protest organizers as a peacekeeper to help handle security for the planned march of roughly 10,000 people from Pioneer Park to the steps of the state's capitol during the No Kings protest in June. I didn't even know we were going to the state capitol. I thought we were going to the federal building and going to stay at the federal building, but we went around the federal building and then we started marching back up towards the capitol, and that's when the shooting happened. So I guess that was the final destination, was the capitol. From charging documents while on scene, Alder made several statements that were captured on responding officers' body cam. When is that going to be released? Probably once the trial starts. Specifically, he stated that the guy was around the corner, had an AR, and was ducked down as he was loading his rifle. I heard that as I walked by the police. I fired a couple shots towards the building to ward him off and get him to stop. No, you fired shots towards him. You hit him with one, and then you started tracking him. So you shoot, and then you start tracking. You shoot. You hit him with one shot, and then you shoot a third time as he runs into the crowd, and you shoot into the crowd, killing Alpha Alou. That's what you did. This was his statements at the scene. He lied. And the media lied too. And people like me were telling you what really happened, but none of the Democrats knew about that. And he's been arrested for manslaughter. But I wanted to read this from the Salt Lake Tribune. Manslaughter charge filed in SLC No King shooting nearly 6 months after protest. What took so long? Now they're going to claim, he faces up to 15 years in prison in Utah. 172 days. That's how long Salt Lake County District Attorney Sim Gill took to charge 43-year-old Matt, 43, and he's doing this crap. Matthew Scott Alder. Well, I guess I'll be going to protest when I'm 43 too. In the shooting death of Arthur Afalu, who was protesting during the Salt Lake City's No Kings March. Volunteer safety team. If convicted, he faces up to 15 years in prison. Laura Alu called the wait long, painful, and deeply frustrating, but commended Gill's decision to pursue charges as moral and just. Yeah, after people like me go to the second No Kings protest and is walking around saying, when is Matt Alder going to be charged? Why haven't you pressed any charges? Where's the organizer of this protest? Where are the peacekeepers? Why are they shooting people? I don't know nobody else who was calling attention to this continually, except for maybe the family members of, but they didn't come out and press charges for 6 months. Maybe that's why it took so long. For 5 months, there had not been any accountability for actions or clarity as to how such a horrific incident would be addressed, nor remorse from Matt Alder himself. And I contacted him on Facebook. He hasn't responded. For taking off his life from us in the world. Today's charges represent a significant first step in the right direction to establish precedent. Maybe you should have established that precedent before Charlie Kirk got murdered. When a guy gets killed at a No Kings protest and nothing happens to him, he doesn't get arrested, you arrest the wrong guy and release him with no charges. You set the precedent, Utah. Aaron Mendenhall, Sam Gill, you guys sent the precedent that you could get away with murdering people if you're on the left and you're in Utah. And then a month later, Charlie Kirk dies. This should have been instant. So what took so long? Well, we had to look into forensics. We had to do forensic. There's video. There was 1,000 people that witnessed it. How come I knew his name and I was talking about what he did and I knew the whole story from beginning to end 2 days after it happened? But it took them 6 months to make an arrest? The timing to charge Gill stemmed from the shooting's unusual circumstances and Utah's liberal open carry laws. Alder told police he fired his weapon at 24-year-old Arturo Gamboa, who was carrying a rifle after he feared Gamboa would mag dump into a crowd of people to kill as many people as he could. Alder allegedly fired 3 shots. One struck Gamboa, wounding him. Now, Gamboa was a regular at these protests. He was a known open carry demonstrator at all of these protests. People knew who Arturo was. Nobody knew who this guy was. Where'd this guy come from? Gamboa was arrested the night of the shooting, but was later released. District Attorney, however, noted that Gamboa's conduct could reasonably be perceived as alarming and irresponsible. Reached for comment Wednesday after Gill's announcement, Gamboa's attorney, Greg Skordas, said he would not make any public statements about the case until his client could also be available to speak. Alder cooperated with police and was not arrested after officers detained him, and another safety volunteer that night, authorities said. So he just walked. Immediately after the shooting, organizers with Utah 5051 disbanded Utah, said in a statement the event's safety volunteers saw someone acting suspiciously, believed there was imminent threat, and took action. Even though they told their people not to carry weapons to this protest, they stood behind their peacekeeper. How Gill's team made a decision. Gill took a rare step in this case of trying to instead present evidence in secret to a grand jury. Grand jurors decided whether prosecutors have shown probable cause that a crime has been committed, and if so, what charges should be filed. Utah grand juries are summoned only when a panel of state judges considers potential cases and decides one is needed. The panel meets 3 times a year in January, June, and October. Gill said his first request for an expedited grand jury was denied on July 18th. The panel denied a second request on November 5th. And he says we went through a very arduous process internally with our entire homicide team. So his argument is we we wanted to go straight to the grand jury. We wanted to put together a strong case behind the scenes and do that. I think you just wanted to bury this for a little while and let people forget about it. The times were hot. It looked bad. I call bullshit on this. I think you should have hit him immediately. The charges would have stuck. They're saying it took so long because we were trying to, go through the back, do it behind the scenes and make sure we had him convicted, which, okay, that's a good argument. But in this case, it was pretty clear cut. Anybody with half a brain and actually pays attention knew what happened. And then here's his family response to charges filed. I don't know if there's a video of this. Hold on one second. Let this advertisement play. The family of an unarmed protester speaking out. We kind of talked about this last week, but this is a 40-minute. This is 40 minutes long. This is Tim Gill doing this. So anyway, that's the updates on that. Good news. Good news. They got him. We got him, boys. What else we got in rapid fire? Derek Chauvin files for a new trial over conviction in George Floyd's murder. They're saying he's not going to be pardoned, or at least not anytime soon. Remember, he doesn't want to be pardoned because if Trump pardons him, that's only on his federal charges. Then he gets taken out of federal prison and he gets put into a state prison in Minneapolis, and he does not want that. So he's filing for an appeal. This is his second attempt. His first one, they denied it. He was previously denied an appeal for a new trial back in 2023. Filing states that Dr. Andrew Baker performed an autopsy on George Floyd the day after his death and determined that he died of cardiopulmonary arrest, complicating law enforcement subdual, restraint, and neck compression, but did not find any evidence of injuries consistent with asphyxia. That was until the second coroner came in, who was hired by the family, and said, he choked him to death. 4 other physicians who reviewed Baker's medical investigations determined that Floyd died of asphyxia. The medical team that was brought in by your race hustlers, your ambulance chasers, your Benjamin Crumps, they bring in their medical examiners for the family for the trial, and then they say asphyxiation. Filing strengths that Chauvin retained a group of physicians at the forensic panel who will testify that the methodology used by the physicians who testified at trial is not generally accepted in the scientific community. So Derek's going down the this is a mistrial because the medical examiners you brought in were secondary medical examiners that came with a different narrative, and they didn't use proper scientific methodology in these claims. And anyway, so he wants to do this because if he can beat the Minnesota state charges and get those dropped like a mistrial, he's still going to be held on his federal charges, but Trump could pardon those. And then there is a pathway to Derek Chauvin being released. That would be based. Next, what do we got here? Photos show President Trump appearing to doze off at work again. So they get one picture, they put it on social media of Trump with his eyes closed. This one here. And the left is like, he's sleeping. He's like Biden. He's sleeping during the things. The response is, if you watch this full meeting that he has, they took a few pictures. He rests his eyes a couple times, and he's talking while his eyes are closed. I do that too sometimes when I'm tired. I'll just close my eyes and, sometimes your eyes get heavy. You just need to rest your eyes. It doesn't necessarily mean you're sleeping. So I'm just, getting a little shut eye in there, What do we got next? A teen got mauled to death by a lion at a zoo. Let's look at this high IQ young man. Don't worry, you don't actually see him getting torn up, but this is from New York Post. So this kid is schizophrenic. He's been to jail before, but he wants to be a lion tamer when he grows up. So he climbs the fence, gets on a tree, and then slowly, now he wants to be a lion tamer and he's schizophrenic. I think he's not like falling down the tree. He's slowly letting himself down the tree. He wants to be in there with this lioness, and it doesn't go too well for him. 19-year-old who dreamed of becoming a lion tamer, but he's also schizophrenic and he's been locked up before. Look at the lioness right here. Her head's right here. And you're mine. Dude, as soon as she starts pawing at his leg, he realized he fucked up. Right here. Boom, boom. He's up and he's done. He starts to run a little bit. He gets away a little bit. And now you're just a chew toy, bud. He pokes his head up one more time. And he gets taken down. Reportedly, he'd been diagnosed with schizophrenia and spent time in prison. But he wanted to be a lion tamer one day, and he got his wish. His dream came true. Sorry. It's morbid, but it's kind of funny. Okay. Dude. This is just a funny thing I saw on Facebook. Oh, you can see the names of my people, man. Hold on. Okay, cool. So this says, for nearly 2,000 years, the victims of Pompeii were seen as silent statues, tragic figures frozen in what looked like peaceful final moments between storm of ash. But now, in a twist worthy of historical horror, AI-driven CT scans have uncovered something no one ever imagined. The people of Pompeii weren't still. They moved. They fought. They struggled until their very last breath. What once appeared to be calm, serene death poses have now been revealed as something far more haunting. So they're saying the people in Pompeii weren't just relaxing and then they got killed instantly. They were actually struggling and fighting for life. The comments in this thing are so funny. Who knew burning alive wasn't serene? Yeah, because I just lay there peacefully like a monk if I was being melted by fucking lava. I don't know about y'all, but if I was suffocating under thick ash and burning from the heat, I'd be fighting too. It's like, thanks, Captain Obvious. You mean the people in Pompeii were struggling as they were in a volcano? Shocker. I just thought that was funny. What is scromiting? What is scromiting? It was scromiting, not I called it scomiting. We were talking about this in the Discord the other day. Scromiting. We've talked about this before because this came up in the news like a year or two ago, that people were suddenly having like vomiting attacks from smoking weed. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because we talked about it in the Discord a couple times already. But what is scrum? Now they've named it and they're putting labels on marijuana packages for it. And this is legal weed. Dispensary weed is causing this. These are the symptoms of a condition linked to frequent marijuana use. A rare but increasingly reported condition linked to frequent marijuana use is drawing new attention. Social media users have dubbed it scromiting, a combination of screaming and vomiting, though doctors refer to it as cannabis hyperemesis syndrome, or CHS. Emergency rooms are seeing more chronic marijuana users, often teenagers, arrive with symptoms that include severe stomach pain, nausea, and vomiting that can last for hours. Physicians say many of the same patients return repeatedly and often undergo extensive testing to rule out other more serious conditions. Doctors have not determined what triggers CHS in some users, but not others, and there is no clear guidance on how how much or how often cannabis must be used for symptoms to appear. Some physicians believe rising THC levels in today's cannabis products, now up to 4 times higher than decades ago, may be contributing. So pot is making people just start vomiting and increased heart rate. King was saying that a cure for this is taking a hot shower. So, and that it's mostly in dispensary weed that this is happening, because we know if you're in, my generation, I know old heads who've been smoking weed every day for their entire lives, and they're like 60 years old. You got guys like Snoop Dogg, celebrities and stuff. They smoke blunts and joints all day, every day. And this doesn't happen. I've never heard of this until recently. This is a new thing. This is from dispensary weed. It's from legalizing pot. You legalize weed, you make the dispensaries. Now the government regulates the production of it. China starts coming in, buying up your farmlands, taking over Oklahoma and Maine, building grow houses and farms. Murder rates have skyrocketed in Oklahoma due to snakehead Chinese gangsters who are illegal, who have had their passports taken. That's human slavery. They're working the weed crops. They're making the dispensary weed that Americans are buying. They're making the cartridges. God knows what sort of additives they're putting in those cartridges. We say that it's regulated, but an industry like this is never super regulated. And once you add regulations, it doesn't make it cleaner. It doesn't make it safer. It adds new food, new chemicals to it that you wouldn't want in it. They do it to the food. They do it to the alcohol. They do it now to the pot. Dispensary weed is making people's stomachs explode. That's the point. Let's move on. Family of Colombian fisherman killed in U.S. boat strike files complaint alleging he was murdered. The family of the Colombian fisherman who died in a U.S. military boat strike in September has filed a formal complaint with the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, alleging the U.S. government illegally killed him. Anyway, nothing's going to come from this. We've labeled Tren de Aragua as a terrorist group, and they are combatants in a hot zone, and we're going to bomb the hell out of them. And we can double tap if we want. Your dude shouldn't have been on a drug boat. Your complaint has been filed, but good luck with that. What else we got? We got one more. Updates on the Luigi Mangione trial.
Suspect in the United Healthcare CEO murder case is back in court for a critical pretrial hearing. The defense has tried to get...
Look at the pictures. Every picture of him looks like he's a GQ model. If it's a Trump case, every picture they take, he's going to look disheveled. It's going to be when he's like got his eyes closed or he's looking away. This photographer, every picture is like a model shoot for this Luigi Mangione murderer.
Key evidence thrown out, including the alleged murder weapon and alleged journal writings. Now we're getting a first look at newly released evidence, including photos of an alleged...
He's saying the backpack search, they're trying to say the backpack search was an illegal search. They didn't have a warrant for the backpack, and they're trying to, which would basically throw out the trial, because that's the evidence that they used to get him. Some of it. I don't know if this is going to hold up. If this dude gets off, I'm going to be pissed.
Alleged to-do list and a pocket knife. Let's bring in ABC legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer for more. Brian, the officer who searched the suspect's bag without a warrant testified today that the bag was heavy and she thought it could have a bomb inside. Prosecutors also pointed out that the officers on the scene talked about possibly needing a warrant and ultimately decided they didn't. So how do you think the prosecution is doing so far in making the case to keep that evidence in play?
So, Diane, even in your question there, you're listing some of the buzzwords that the judge is going to jump on in hearing the prosecution's case. The weight of the bag, the belief that there was a bomb inside. Those are going to be arguments that the prosecution is going to push for to say this is why they did not need a warrant. There was an emergency or exigent circumstance, and this is one of the exceptions to a warrantless search of a container. This allows them inside the bag. What the defense is going to do is push back on that narrative and say, okay, if this is what you believe, why did you not make the circumstances around you safe for a bomb? Why did you do the steps that are required within your patrol guide that you should do when there's a suspicion of a bomb? And what's going to happen is going to be an argument between what was said and what was done, and the judge will decide, whether or not to suppress those items.
The officer also testified she found a phone inside a Faraday bag designed to conceal the phone's signal. How do you think that plays into this case?
So it's going to be about the natural assumption that a juror is going to have as to why Luigi Mangione would have a Faraday bag, right? He's being accused of committing murder in a different state, and now his bag is held in a way, where it doesn't give a signal. So maybe he's trying to hide his own whereabouts, where he was, where he came from, something of that nature. Or I think the defense would try to make the argument here that Faraday bags are a way to stopping people from hacking you, taking personal information from you, and so there could be a non-criminal reason to that. Either side is going to take this fact and try to use it in their own way to further their narrative and further an argument for guilt or not guilty.
And Brian, this hearing only relates to the state case against the suspect, but could it impact the federal case against him too?
Maybe in the court of public opinion, but I wouldn't say necessarily in the court of law, because whether items are suppressed or not, that's going to be based on New York state law, not on federal law. And because the federal government did not participate in the hearing with the state of New York, anything that is suppressed will not apply to the federal case there. But I think in terms of how...
So this could only potentially get him out of the state charges, not the federal ones.
The case is perceived amongst public, that may change and that may affect negotiations with the feds.
All right, Brian Buckmeyer.
All right, so I'll keep you updated on the Luigi Mangione case as it goes forward. And that's it for rapid fire news. So all the news is done. Got a little less than an hour left. Do I have Christmas music? Nope. Oh, it's on my laptop. It's not on this computer, I don't think. I don't have my Christmas music on this computer. Well, it's that time of year, guys. As you know, we did Christmas around the world last year, our debunking Kwanzaa. Now, as we do every year, we have to defend Christmas from evil pagans who want to besmirch and defame our Lord Jesus Christ and our holiday where we celebrate his birth, Christmas. Every year, the memes go around. Right around this time, you'll see Ishtar was a fertility goddess, and that's what the origins of Christmas are based off of. But then you might see another meme that says Sol Invictus. Christmas is based off Sol Invictus. You might see another meme that says Christmas is based off of the pagan celebration of Saturnalia. You may even see some dummies who will say that Christmas is based off Samhain, the pagan celebration of Samhain. Those ones are the worst because Samhain's supposed to be what you're lying about Halloween being based off of. But you mess up your lies and you accidentally say that it's Christmas. Is it Sol Invictus, Saturnalia, Samhain, or is it Ishtar? There's 4 different goddesses and gods and pagan gods and goddesses tied to Christmas or Halloween or both. And none of them are even real. Christmas is based off, I forget which entity it is. We're not going to be talking about all this. We're going to focus in on Ishtar today, the Christmas tree. We were doing our Bible studies, and I'll have to find the Bible verse for you about adorning the tree. I believe it's Deuteronomy. Anyway, we'll figure that out soon. But there's one goddess that was born from mud and was immortal, and they say that's where we stole our ties to Jesus being born on Christmas, and that's what we stole the day. But it's actually a god that was born from mud, but was somehow immortal. So it's ridiculous. All the claims. We're gonna focus on Ishtar today. Let me open this folder up. The Christmas is not pagan folder. It's got a lot of files. A lot of these we've read before, so I'm not going to read through them all. Today, we're just going to kind of review a Wes Hub video that I like. But, hold on one second. So even if you just Google Ishtar origins of Christmas tree. The connection between Ishtar and the Christmas tree is a theory linking ancient fertility cults, specifically the Babylonian myth of Nimrod and his mother/wife, Ishtar, Semiramis, or Ishtar, to modern Christian traditions, suggesting evergreen trees symbolize Nimrod's rebirth, and gifts were left under them for his birthday, December 25th. Nimrod's birthday, from the fertility goddess Ishtar. While this theory claims pagan origins, most historians trace the modern Christmas tree to 16th century Germany, originating from paradise trees and Adam and Eve plays. There's also a theory that it comes from St. Boniface. St. Boniface cut down a tree that was like a demon tree. We've talked about that on the show before. People will try to tie the Christmas tree to the Yule log. Nowhere near similar. But most commonly, they're going to tie it to Ishtar. There is some ancient images of Ishtar wearing something that comes off the head that like goes down like this, and wearing something on the body, which are actually wings. I believe they're wings. But and it looks like Ishtar kind of looks like a Christmas tree. As usual, it's an association fallacy. Something looks similar, so they say, "Yep, they stole the Christmas tree from Ishtar. Look, that Ishtar looks like a Christmas tree." Symbolizing life, the paradise tree adopted by Christians through older pagan traditions involving sacred trees and groves. The myth is that after Nimrod died, his mother, Semiramis, claimed a full-grown evergreen tree sprang from a dead stump, symbolizing his rebirth. The historical and biblical counterpoints. Asherah poles, these are the poles we put up. Ancient Israel used Asherah poles for Canaanite goddess worship. Historians and scholars differentiate these from modern Christmas trees, noting the Bible condemned the former as idols. So people will say, your Christmas tree is tied to these Asherah poles that they use to worship Canaanite goddesses. Nope. German origins. The modern Christmas tree tradition is widely traced to 16th century Germany. Early Christians' adoption of evergreen trees was to symbolize Christ's eternal life, not pagan rebirth, although some acknowledge baptizing pagan elements into Christians. So some people will say, we took some of their traditions and we baptized them into Christianity. I disagree with that. That's a theory. I think what's more likely is that we had traditions that they saw us doing, and they had similar things, and then they saw that we were doing our thing, and it was kind of similar to the thing they were doing, but we weren't sacrificing babies. So they slowly adopted into Christianity. It's not like Christianity had to come in and be like, we're stealing all your traditions and making our own thing. No, we had our own thing that was similar to their thing, except we weren't killing babies and sacrificing them. We were giving gifts and having feasts and loving our family and celebrating our Lord and Savior, while they were sacrificing children. They saw us doing it, and they adopted into our way. And then later, modern pagans go back and retroactively, ad hoc, and say, oh, they stole our traditions. You didn't have a written language. You don't have any record of this until 325. We have records much farther than that for some of these examples, not specifically the tree. Our tree is a more modern thing. German, European, white, adopted into America. And of course, America has changed some of the traditions, and it's not, we don't focus on Jesus as much as we should. But it's not pagan. So we're going to watch Wes Huff's video. I have a ton of videos in this folder. I have stuff, from History Channel and things like that, claiming that Christmas is pagan, and then I have debunks for it. I go through this every year. So to avoid just repeating myself ad nauseum every year, I like watching a different video each year. So
3 years ago,
we'll check this one out. It's Wes Huff, he's a little goofy. He's a little dorky, but He's a smart guy, and he knows his stuff, especially in relation to this. So we're going to watch this. Un momento. Oh, wrong window. Hold on. And I want to break down this thing that he shows in the beginning of the video. I have it screenshotted.
Need an infographic on some reading I'd done on.
So this is the infograph. Christmas is not a pagan holiday. Celebrating the incarnation of Jesus at Christmas is a long-standing Christian tradition spanning over a millennia. Although there has clearly been growth, lore, and traditions added to our modern practice of the holiday, especially in America with capitalism, and I always say this, holidays in America, they're just capitalists now. And I don't have a problem with I love capitalism, but they're economy boosters. Winter's starting. It's a long haul until summer. We have our summer holidays, but Christmas, spend time with the family, Thanksgiving, Halloween, Easter, they've all become modernized and Americanized, and basically it's economy booster. People love holidays. They spend money at the holidays. Total grocery stores, Walmarts, everything completely changes for the holidays. A whole new section changes in the store. You get all your stuff for the holidays. You spend time with your family. You have a good time. There's nothing wrong with that, and there's nothing wrong with people celebrating it as just an American tradition. But the true origins are Christian, and we should keep that in mind, if only just to teach the children. It helps instill memories in children's heads that they'll hold on to. They'll remember it. So you want to teach them the original tradition, the Christian foundings. You want to indoctrinate them into that as children, and they'll remember that for their whole life. There will be a special place in their heart for the times that they have with their families and what they talked about and what they learned during these times of the year as they were kids. So that's why holidays are important, because they cause kids to remember it for the rest of their lives. And we should be teaching them the truth, not lies. So I don't care. Celebrate the holidays however you want to, but don't lie to people and tell them that my holiday is based off of some pagan nonsense, because it's not true. Substantial pagan roots falls apart under historical inspection. Even atheists will say this is stupid. If an uninformed atheist says Christmas is pagan, the real atheist will be like, why are you spreading that dumb crap? That's been debunked. Everybody knows that's been debunked. That's dumb. Even the atheists know it. The good ones, the ones that, are almost smart. All the traditional pagan associations and connections with Christmas, when truly put under the microscope, turn out to be themselves more fiction than fact. So some claims. The date, December 25th. They'll hone in on the date. The date of Christmas is borrowed from pagan festivals like Sol Invictus and or Saturnalia. Reality. Sol Invictus was not placed on 1225 until 354 AD, when the Philocalian calendar records this, but doesn't specify any festival with regards to sun worship prior to this. The Julio-Claudian Fasti inscriptions say sun festivals were on August 8th, 9th, and 28th, August, and December 11th, and maybe October 19th. The Philocalian calendar says Emperor Aurelian honored the sun with chariot races every 4 years, like an Olympics, on October 19th to 22. So somehow they're tying this sun worship feast that happens on August 8th, 9th, 28th, and December 11th. So multiple days they do this feast to the sun god. Maybe October 19th, once every 4 years, which is when they do some chariot races, they worship the sun god on Sol Invictus. They claim this is Christmas. But this doesn't happen. They don't start doing this until 354. Christ was already born. And the church acknowledged this, and we would have feasts and we would remember this before the pagans did. They took the date from us, not vice versa, not the other way around. As far as the winter solstice had no festive significance to ancient Romans. There were no celebrations planned for the date, and they disagreed on when it was. The Julian calendar does say 1225, but Pliny the Elder says 1226, and Columella says 1223. So they happen to have feasts at the same time too. The winter solstice feast. But that's not till we change to the Julian calendar. When was it on the Gregorian calendar? And Romans weren't celebrating this. Saturnalia was never on 1225. Macrobius says Saturnalia began 14 days before January, which comes out to December 17th, using Roman calendrical dates. He says it lasted for 3 days, so the 17th, the 18th, and the 19th. But according to the Fasti inscriptions, it lasted to the 24th during the days of the Republic. So later, they made it last up to December 24th. What about Santa Claus? Santa Claus can only be traced back to Dutch immigrants in New York in the early 1800s. He came from the Dutch Sinterklaas, also known as Saint Nicholas. His feast day was on 12/6 and was moved to 12/25 around this time to help make Christmas a family holiday. Newspapers promoted it, encouraged to give gifts on Christmas instead of New Year's, like it traditionally was before this. Sinterklaas was rebranded from a Catholic priest to look like a traditional Dutchman from that time period. So Saint Nicholas is a Catholic saint. Sinterklaas is based off of Saint Nicholas, and they make him look more jolly and festive. Now, some pagans will be like, "Oh, well, you took the color red and white from us. The red and white color scheme. That's Viking influence, or no, reindeers. He had reindeers. That comes from the Viking influence." These are all association fallacies, picking and choosing little similarities. Now, if you could say flying reindeers are Nordic influence or Viking influence, and therefore Santa Claus is pagan, I'll give you the reindeer. You can take the flying reindeer. Okay, yeah, we added a flying reindeer. Maybe we took the flying reindeer from the norms. That doesn't mean Christmas is based on paganism. That's stupid. Traditionally, Sinterklaas were branded Catholic priest. Big Red Sue. After the Santa was exported around the world and different countries added new spins. Just like Jesus, the images of Jesus change in different countries. They changed the image in Santa Claus in different countries. Stockings were also promoted around this time period and traced back to Clement C. Moore's A Visit from St. Nicholas in 1927. In Finland, a radio broadcaster, Marco Roscio, morphed the old pagan deity Joulupukki into a Santa figure. Santa changed the Joulupukki figure, not the other way around. So if you hear anybody say, "Oh, Santa Claus is based off this Joulupukki guy," that's from some radio guy who made the pagan guy out to be like Santa Claus. Again, they take from us. We aren't taking from them. We're the origin. We're the originators. We're the OGs of Christmas. The pagans, whether it be Nordic, whether it be Celtic, whether it be some crazy Wiccans or Lord knows what, Sol Invictus, Saturnalia, Ishtar, Eoster for Easter, they're all taking these ideas from Christians who were established and who had strong traditions and strong foundations. They were a hodgepodge and a mess of a whole bunch of different things. And they wanted to be like Christians. But now to the Christmas tree. We'll skip over mistletoe, but now to the Christmas tree. Christmas trees find their origin in Druid and pagan practices, bringing pine trees into one's house to ward off natural spirits. That's the claim. In reality, Christmas trees go back to the 16th century, just like I said. Is an Alsace ordinance, 1561. Almost no early pagans thought pine trees were sacred, let alone associated with 1225. Germanic tribes believed the oak was sacred. Maximus of Tyre said the Celts indeed worship Zeus, but they honor him in the form of a lofty oak tree. And then St. Boniface cuts down the oak tree, which they're using to worship different gods and different deities, We cut down those trees. We don't worship them and celebrate them. People will reference the Bible verse. What is the Bible verse? James would know. Jeremiah 10, 2 through 4. And then we'll watch the video after I look this up real quick. I can turn the page. Hold on one second, guys. A little Bible thumping for you. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven. For the heathen are dismayed at them. For the customs of the people are vain. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with the axe. They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not. This is more similar to a Yule log. This is when they, and I've shown you pictures of this during the Bible studies. The Ishtar trees, they would cut down a tree in the woods, cut all the branches off it. It'd be like a log, and then they'd carve images into it. It'd be more like looking like a totem pole with a goddess carved into it, and that would be Ishtar. And then they would deck it with gold and with silver, and then sometimes they would sacrifice a child to it. That's what that verse is talking about. That verse isn't talking about what we do with Christmas trees. I know it sounds similar, but when you look at what it is, they don't look similar at all. Hold on. I showed pictures of it a long time ago, and now I can't find them. I wish I would have saved them. I'm sure I did somewhere, but anyway, so yeah, that's the verse they'll use, the one verse they have to get biblical with it. I can't find the pictures of what I showed you in the Bible. You have to go back through all the Bible streams. There's a lot of them. Go through all of them. Go watch the playlist. But let's watch the video, and we'll just talk about the video as it goes. But basically, that's the outline of what we're talking about here. We're mainly focusing on the trees and how it's not Ishtar. Well, no, we're focused on Ishtar here, but she ties in with the trees. They'll also Yule log claims. Let's get into the video.
Supposed pagan origins of Christmas. At the start of the research, I would have told you that some of these things were pagan, and that Christians had co-opted a number of them, and that while their origins might have been pagan, they were now completely disassociated from their pagan beginnings. However, as I read more and dug into the literature, and specifically the original sources, I found that my preconceived notion was actually backwards. In fact, some of the things I thought had pagan inceptions were actually practiced by Christians before they were by pagans, and pagans had appropriated them from Christians, not the other way around.
So you got it backwards, pagans. Shocker, the pagans got it wrong, and they twisted things to try to steal from Christians. Shocker, who would have thunk it?
At the beginning of December, I reposted this infographic, pointing out that there was lack of evidence regarding the pagan genesis of a few modern Christian traditions, and boy, did I get a response. It's obviously pagan, and everybody who has a brain on their head knows it. You will be judged for your leading astray the flock from Yeshua, Adonai, Yahuwah, to...
Of course they're going to say it like that. They can't just say Jesus. If somebody says Yeshua, Adonai, Yahweh, Yahuwah, or however they say it, probably a little loopy.
Follow the great Shaitan Ra. A Christmas tree is an idol. You bring it sacrifices, hold hands around it to sing songs, and then bow down to it to get your presents. I've never seen a clear example of pagan worship before. Jeremiah 10, 3-4 clearly.
And that's what I just read to you guys. Well, I read you 2 through 4, but Wes will get into it for you.
Really forbids you to have a Christmas tree. You can try your best to say it doesn't, but what else could it be talk about? You just want to justify your sinful fleshly Christmas is pagan, and it comes from Babylonian pedophilia. It doesn't take a brang scientist to figure that one out.
Doesn't take a brang scientist to figure it out. I like how he reads the typos into it.
Yes, it is. You are going to hell to...
People really get... The pagans and the Christians both get up in arms about this topic. Whether they're like me, Wes, IP Inspiring Philosophy does one every year, I think. A lot of the Christians do a video like this or a stream like this where we defend Christmas every year because we have to. Because evil people want to destroy our traditions and our holidays, the Christians. It's a form of Christian persecution and suppression. And we're done with it. We don't like it. But the other side is just as passionate. Every year, the pagans and Christians attack Christmas. And so we got to defend it.
Accountable for every single thing you teach that is wrong and can mislead the souls. You are telling people it's not pagan, a celebration that is rooted with Nimrod, Semiramis, and his son Tammuz.
Nimrod, Semiramis, and his son Tammuz. This is the Ishtar thing. So Ishtar is Semiramis, and that's Nimrod's mom. And Semiramis and his son Tammuz. Semiramis is Ishtar, which is a woman. It's for
Tammuz.
Worship the sun god.
Pagan celebration to worship the sun god? Really? It's not about us and this worldly traditions. It's about the one and only Messiah and his name being honored.
I've also done one of these years. We went through every verse in the Bible where it talks about gathering annually to have feasts for special events and remembrances and worship.
Not just for Christmas, but in everything we do. And the always popular High Mass of Apollyon the Destroyer, filthy puke emoji.
This is heavy. It's warm. Low.
Sorry for that. High Mass apology. What? Puke emoji.
Are examples of some pretty extreme comments, but I'm not kidding when I say there were over 100 negative comments, some that I just had to delete because they were just not appropriate. My DMs also got pretty crowded with people accusing me of being a wolf, false prophet, Satan lover, and so on and so forth. And the point of this video is not to focus on the crazy, although there's a lot of that to go around. My purpose is to try and correct some of the misinformation and misunderstanding surrounding this particular topic. Misinformation that I myself believed before, misunderstandings that I myself was ignorant on, because I hadn't looked at the source material on the subject. Let's start off with some of the most common accusations and objections I see. The first, and probably the most talked about, is the date of Christmas itself. It's often asserted that the date of December 25th was already a common one used in ancient Near East and Greco-Roman world. The Christians merely scheduled their celebrations of Jesus' birth on the same day as these pagan festivals to somehow make it easier for pagans or early converts to convert or start to celebrate Christmas. Apart from the fact that I wouldn't even have that big of an issue with this concept if it was true, when you really dig into the sources on what these festivals were when they happened, the argument starts to fall apart. The leading contender for this argument is the Roman festival of Sol Invictus, the festival of the unconquered sun. It's not until the middle of the 4th century that anyone makes the connection of Sol Invictus to December 25th, and earlier inscriptions are inconsistent, placing Sol Invictus throughout August, October, and early December. Christians, on the other hand, had already pinpointed December 25th as
the year 114 AD. We had Christmas on December 25th. There is no record of Sol Invictus ever happening on December 25th until 354 AD. So 250 years later, the pagans finally mentioned that they have Christmas on December 25th. But oddly, everything leading up to that point says that it happened in August. Interesting. But 111... we were doing it on the 25th. 354, they start doing it on the 25th. Again, the pagans took from the Christians, not the other way around. And the only reason you have written record that you started doing it on the 25th in 354 was because we wrote it down.
The date they thought Jesus was born, decades before any of this. I'll go into more detail in a little bit as to the
when I say we, I mean Christians.
Reasons behind all of that, but Sextus Julius Africanus in the late 2nd and early 3rd century had already made that conclusion, and we have some early evidence that Christians were acknowledging it as such. In reality, Roman temple worship was on the decline by the 4th century, and it is just as possible and even more probable that the pagans moved their celebrations to December 25th to compete with the Christians, who were a growing religious majority at the time. In fact, Pliny the Younger in the early 2nd century had already noted.
And an argument will be made that, well, we don't really know the day that Jesus was born. Where do you get this number December 25th from? That it's arguable that Jesus wasn't born on December 25th, and you're right, we don't know for sure, but there is a lot of arguments and evidence for why he was born on the 25th. It has to do with prophets dying on the same day that they were conceived. So you go 9 months after, if Jesus died on around Easter time, that would be the same day he was conceived. 9 months after conception would be birth. That would be about December, late December. Plus, we know that the inns were full. The inns were full around feast time, around the harvest festival feast time, around the end of the year when it's chilly, it's getting cold outside. Now, people will say, well, if it's cold outside, why are there sheep and why are there shepherds? Well, we're talking about Israel, and if you look at the climate of Israel, it would be cold, but it would not be intolerable for sheep and shepherds to be out at night around late December. The inns would be full around late December, just like the Christmas narrative it tells us, and then we can tie his birth date to December 25th through that idea of prophets like Moses dying on the day they were conceived. And that's how we get the date, the December 25th. Now, that could be argued that it was a different date and that we made it December 25th because of traditions, and everybody had feast times around that time of the year. Whether you're pagan, Christian, everybody did. So that's law of association to say just because the pagans had feasts at this time of the year, around this late time of the year, and we had feasts around the late time of the year, that necessarily one comes from the other. They correlate, but there's no causal connection there.
Potentially a little bit hyperbolically, that the Roman temples were being forsaken due to so...
Yeah, that's not true. What you just said is wrong, Freddie. So you don't know what you're talking about. And we just went over that like 3 different times. So try to keep up. It was in August 17th, 18th, 19th. And then they would do it again. They would do a Sol Invictus celebration every 4 years. October 19th for the chariot races that Aurelius would have. And by the way, it's not like I just have Google in front of me as a source and this West Huff video. I have 27 different sources open in front of me right now. So, and I talk about this every year. So if it seems like we're skimming over something, it's because we've probably talked about this 5 times already.
Many Christian converts. And Emperor Julian, who was emperor for 3 years in the 4th century, grew frustrated with the lack of Roman religious devotion to idols in his time and blames the Christians specifically for this pagan crisis of faith. In his work, The Origins of the Liturgical Year, historian Thomas...
That's not an argument, genius. We're talking about Sol Invictus, first of all. And secondly, just because nobody's arguing that they weren't celebrating winter solstice before Christians. Christians never celebrated winter solstice. We celebrate Christmas. What are you talking about? You're not making a point.
Thomas Taylor says this exact thing when he states that it is more likely the Roman Emperor Aurelian placed Sol Invictus on December 25th to compete with the growing rate of Christianity.
Aurelian, I said Aurelius. But look, isn't that what I was just saying? Oh, yeah.
Who's coming in?
Oh, yeah. Pay attention, Fred. Try to keep up. Try to keep up.
to accuse December 25th of being the date of the Feast of Saturnalia, the Roman pagan festival honoring the agricultural god Saturn. However, much like Sol Invictus, our earliest sources for Saturnalia come late. Macrobius in the 5th century says that Saturnalia was celebrated 14 days before January, and keep in mind that the ancient Roman calendar at this time had 2 more days in their month of December than ours does today. This only comes out then to December 17th. Vermalia, although multi-day festival in ancient Rome devoted to Saturn and Kronos, comes in as a potential candidate. But Vermalia starts in late November and ends on December 17th, right in time to celebrate the day of Saturnalia.
So Romalia may have been stolen from Saturnalia. Romalia is mid-November to mid-December. Saturnalia is December 17th. But I'm sure Freddy is a Sol Invictus, Winter Solstice, Saturnalia, Ishtar. I'm sure he's an expert on Nimrod. I'm sure he's an expert on all of these things because they're all stolen from the Egyptians, right?
In fact, there is no evidence that December 25th was selected to replace a pagan holiday. And other sources of deities like Tammuz, Horus, Ahura Mazda, Mithra, Attis.
Oh, you should like this part. Let's see how you guys, you pagans, try to lie and say everything's stolen from the pagans, and they use all these different gods that they don't know anything about. When you start digging into the source material and the writings that we have about the histories and traditions of these gods and goddesses, and there's very little of it because most of them couldn't write. But none of it looks like Jesus. That's all lies that people retroactively make up to try to persecute Christians.
Or Dionysus being born on or around the winter solstice, those dates come well after the 4th century, and therefore long after we know Christians had already identified Jesus' birth on December 25th and were starting to...
4 centuries after Jesus. 3 centuries after we had already established the date of December 25th as Jesus' birth and celebrated it as Christmas. 300 years later, then we start hearing about Horus and all these other gods having their day on December 25th. Isn't that interesting? Shocker.
To celebrate it then. In 386, John Chrysostom says that Christmas was being celebrated.
These people don't create. Well, only God creates, but you know what I mean. They don't build, they destroy. You think they built Christmas? No, they destroyed their own holidays. They destroyed their own gods. They destroyed their own children. They destroyed their own people. They destroyed their own countries. They're not building. They're pagan. They're devil worshippers. What do you think they're building? They ain't building nothing. They ain't building Christmas. Christians built Christmas
on December 25th and describes it as a long-time tradition. The Phalocalian calendar, produced in 354, had Christmas listed as a holiday on December 25th already. The first-hand sources suggest quite strongly that Christmas being celebrated on December 25th was at least an established tradition by the early 4th century within the Christian church. The truth of the matter is that no one really knows when the birth of Jesus was. Some in the early church believed it had to have been in the spring due to the shepherds' presence in the fields. Shepherds were in the fields from March to November, and during the winter rain months, it's unlikely, although not impossible, that they would have been out grazing with their sheep. So where did the date of December 25th come from then? Well, there was an idea within early Christianity that if you were really holy, you would die on the day you were conceived. This was calculated mainly because the Old Testament would record the life of individuals like Moses and present round numbers without adding months or days for how long they lived. For example, in Deuteronomy 3:7, it says that Moses was 120 years old when he died. Well, the most holiest man who ever lived was Jesus. Therefore, the early church thought he must have died on the day he was conceived. Going off of the evidence in the Gospels as to when the crucifixion was, which they believed counted out to March, and then they counted ahead 9 months, they got December 25th. Is this something we today should hang our hat on? Well, the jury is out on that one. Nonetheless, no matter which way you swing it, December 25th was not chosen for pagan reasons, and the poetry concerning the light of the world coming into the world in the darkest time of the year in the Western Hemisphere is not lost on me.
These 100% grass-fed
December 25th might not have pagan origins, but certainly some of the others must, right? I mean, what about Christmas trees? After all, don't I bring sacrifices to it while holding hands with my loved ones to sing songs before bowing down to retrieve my presents in pagan worship? Once again, the sources we do have for the origins of the Christmas tree aren't even remotely pagan. One potential comes from the story of St. Boniface from the 8th century, when he's said to have cut down the sacred oak tree that the locals had dedicated to Thor. When he wasn't killed by lightning, he's said to have pointed to the fir tree and dedicated it to Christ. Some scholars have hypothesized that the tradition arose from the paradise trees in the 1500s. A paradise tree was an evergreen tree decorated with fruit to represent the tree of life in the Garden of Eden, and a play telling the Genesis story would be done around the paradise tree. The plays were typically held on December 24th, and then, as the fruit was...
Oh, a tree with a fruit on it in the Garden of Eden. There's also, in Deuteronomy, this time he never touches on this, but I found this one interesting. Or in 2nd Chronicles, to wit, the 2 pillars and the pommels and the chapiters, which were on top of the 2 pillars, and the 2 wreaths to cover the 2 pommels of the chapiters, which were on top of the pillars, and 400 pomegranates on the 2 wreaths, 2 rows of pomegranates on each wreath to cover the 2 pommels of the chapiter, which were upon the pillars. This is the decoration for the temple. They would use wreaths with pomegranates hanging on them. Have you ever seen any wreaths on Christmas and things that look like pomegranates hanging from them? 2nd Chronicles. We have examples of things like garland decorated by hanging colored balls. Where do you think there's biblical evidence of decorating things like this?
Taken off the tree remained, and it was then decorated for the next day in celebration for Christmas. These trees set up in people's houses would remind them of the Garden of Eden on Christmas Eve and the restoration of Christ coming into the world of the garden to come in the new heaven and the new earth. There is also a famous story linked to the Protestant reformer Martin Luther, in which he is said during a winter evening stroll to have been overcome with the brilliance of the stars in the night sky, painting the background over the evergreen forests. In order to capture this moment, it is recorded that Luther cut down and erected a tree in the main hall of their house, covering its branches with lighted candles. Although the tradition was well known from that point on in Germany and dispersed parts of Europe, it was not practiced in Britain until the 19th century. When Queen Victoria married her German cousin Prince Albert, the custom was brought into the household of the British royal family. From then on, it was associated with royalty, and wealthier middle-class families soon followed suit with the tradition during the holiday season. Over here in Canada, where I live, it had been adopted as a tradition just prior to the 1700s, where we have records of Brunswick soldiers stationed in Quebec who are said to have decorated large fir trees with candles and fruit during the holiday season. Now, it's true that ancient pagans across Europe used trees in certain practices and ceremonies. This much is a true fact. However, none of these practices resembles what eventually became the Christmas tree, and none of them can be tied to fir or pine trees specifically. Aside from the fact that by the time that Christmas trees became popular and associated with Christmas itself, virtually all of these pagan worship practices in Europe were long dead and forgotten. There is no evidence of a direct link, and if the most we can connect is a parallel correlation, then that's pretty weak. Correlation does not equal causation, and along with trees, pagans also had religious buildings, songs they sang, almsgiving, prayers. Some Egyptian superstitions also included the images of...
That looked like a picture from the movie Midsummer. That movie's freaky.
Of crosses and fish. By the same logic, we better get rid of all those things in modern Christianity as well. The problem we run into is that you can draw all sorts of parallels with things pagans did and do, and practices we see in Christianity, but once again, correlation does not equal causation, and to draw the connection between a pagan root into a modern Christmas practice, we need to be able to draw a clear and definitive straight line. That just simply cannot be done with all the examples we see within modern Christmas practices. This also goes, by the way, for wreaths, mistletoe, and even Santa Claus. You might have a problem with commercialization of all of these things, and I can understand that. But to try and then say that they're pagan is just a jump in logic that seems to, at best...
That's another thing it is. They hate the They hate the commercialization, the capitalism. A lot of these people hate their country. They hate America. They hate Christianity. They hate Christmas. They hate the holiday times. Maybe they get depressed at Christmas. They have seasonal depression. And so they just want to bring down the people who celebrate it and love it and enjoy it. They want to bring down Christianity, the nuclear family, and they just want to destroy everything righteous and holy and wholesome. So they hate Christmas.
To be silly to me. Now, some will grant that and simply say, well, they might not be pagan, but Scripture clearly condemns such practices. I mean, look at Jeremiah 10, verses 2-4. This is what the Lord says: do not learn the ways of the nations, or be terrified by signs in the heavens, though the nations are terrified by them. For the practices of the people are worthless. They cut a tree out of a forest, and a craftsman shapes it with his chisel. They adorn it with silver and gold. They fasten it with a hammer and nails, so it will not totter. The argument then is that this is God forbidding decorating a Christmas tree, so doing so is a sin which Scripture and God condemns. The problem is that this verse, when placed in the context of what Jeremiah is actually talking about, completely debunks it. What Jeremiah is talking about is a craftsman who is cutting down a tree.
There it is. There it is.
Carving a graven idol out of the wood. The very next verse mockingly compares what is being done by these pagans with a scarecrow. In other words, just as a scarecrow is a mock representation of a person to scare away birds in a field, but cannot move, talk, or has no life in and of itself, neither does the wooden idol being made by the craftsman. The verse specifically mocks these wooden figures' lack of ability to speak or walk. Why? Because they're being carved with mouths and feet, yet they're still a piece of lifeless wood. This wouldn't make any sense if what is being talked about in context looked like a tree. And that's besides the point that it would make no...
It didn't look like a tree. They carved it into an idol, into like a person or a goddess. The Ishtar trees, it's a carving into a log. And then they put like earrings on it. They'll put like jewelry on it. That's adorning it with gold and silver. It's not like garland and tinsel and Christmas balls. It's freaking earrings and a necklace and tassels on a log god. And that's why he says, does it walk? Does it talk? Well, I don't expect this plastic Christmas tree to walk or talk.
No sense for God to be telling the ancient Israelites to avoid making Christmas trees, which wouldn't be done for thousands of years in the future, and thus have no understandable application for Jeremiah.
Also, you don't even necessarily have to cut the tree down. If the tree's growing in the middle of the city or in a good spot, you just decorate it. Decorate it there.
Jeremiah's immediate audience.
If your last name is on this list.
Shout out to Rock. He's losing weight.
Many people in the comment section of my social media posts also very strongly argued that because the Bible never specifically says we should celebrate Jesus' birthday, therefore it is wrong. To this I would say a few things.
That's stupid.
First, Jesus himself traveled to Jerusalem in John chapter 10 to celebrate the Feast of Dedication, better known today as Hanukkah. This is a celebration that came from the 2nd century BC, commemorating the recovery of Jerusalem and subsequent dedication of the Second Temple at the beginning of the Maccabean Revolt. This is not a celebration the Bible says for God's people to do. It comes from the time between the last book of the Old Testament, Malachi, and the first book of the New Testament, the Gospel of Matthew. Yet Jesus has no problem traveling to Jerusalem to celebrate this particular event. Despite it not being commanded in Scripture, it is fully consistent with Scripture. Why wouldn't you make a celebration out of an event that represented God's work in the world and the preservation and redemption of his people? In a very similar way, why wouldn't we celebrate the incarnation and the birth?
This is a cool nativity scene. If you notice, they're in a cave. I've talked about this before, that it's more likely they were not in a stable. They were in a cave under an inn. And what it could have been more like, instead of this open, I like this one. It looks cooler, but it might have it probably was likely a hole in the ground that you went down into a basement type thing, like a basement cave.
Birth of Christ. There are, of course, so many other things I could talk about related to Christmas, but let me just wrap up with a few particular comments. Once again, there are no straight lines drawn from pagan practices to modern Christmas celebrations. Those just aren't there. At best, we can draw correlations to a handful of things pagans did, but no causation that these things impacted or were directly copied by Christians in the development of Christmas. The same sort of methodology is often employed for Jesus mythicists when they try to draw connections between things like ancient deity figures and what Jesus did. And ironically, this is exactly what some people in my social media comment section did do. Unfortunately, whether we're talking about the stories of Jesus in the Gospels or the traditions of modern Christmas, there really isn't any credibility between Nimrod, Tammuz, Horus, Attis, or anyone else that was an ancient deity figure. Those are at best silly parallels that...
He's got another video where he goes through each one of those and he explains, or no, I think it's Inspiring Philosophy does it with another guest. And he goes into the ancient history and all of the writings about each one of those figures he just named and how there's no connection to Jesus. They're not even similar. What they'll do is they'll pick a few stories about those people that kind of seem similar to Jesus, and then they'll twist them a little bit and make it seem more like Jesus. But if you read the original source material, it's nothing like Jesus. Freddy does the same stuff with Horus and with Osiris and with Serapis. It's the same crap all these people do, and it's always nonsense. They don't even know their own history, so they just want to attack Christians in our history.
could apply to anyone or anything, and at worst, they're simply made up from thin air. Secondly, the incarnation and the birth of Christ is, along with Jesus' death and resurrection, the most awesome event in all of human history. Why wouldn't we want to carve out some specific time to celebrate such an amazing event? Why wouldn't we purposefully set aside a chunk of time, like Advent, to build up to the expectation of our coming Savior? Finally, let's take a cue from Paul when he writes to the church in Corinth concerning those who were worried about eating meat sacrificed to idols. So then, about eating food sacrificed to idols, we know that an idol is nothing at all in the world, and that there is no God but one. For even though there are so-called gods, whether in heaven or on earth, as indeed there are many gods and many lords, yet for us there is but one God, the Father, from whom all things came, and for whom we live.
No. See, Freddy, you guys worship the sun. The S-U-N. We worship the sun, the light. We worship the light. There's always something that looks like a sun because that's the light, but Jesus is the source of the light, not the sun, not the ball of fire in the sky. You guys worship a physical thing. We worship a metaphysical thing.
And there is but one Lord Jesus Christ, through whom all things came and through whom we live. God made everything good, and just because someone tries to corrupt and twist something like a cut of meat, or for that matter a pine tree, doesn't mean that they're successful. Just because something has a meaning to a pagan does not mean that is then also how God sees it. And at the end of the day, I would never advise someone to go against their conscience. If you truly believe that modern Christmas practices are something you don't want to be part of, that's fine. I have no problem with that, and the purpose of this type of video is not to coerce anybody who feels uneasy about this holiday or any other celebration that I like to do. This video is simply to point out that we are followers of the truth, and I'm not a brain scientist or any other type of scientist for that matter, but the truth of the matter is that modern Christmas traditions, you can't draw a straight line from pagan practices.
What's it all getting all choppy
Let's
for?
remember what Paul writes in Colossians 1:16. Therefore do not let anyone judge you by what you eat or drink, or with regard to a religious festival, a new moon celebration, or a Sabbath day. And if you want to learn more about these types of things, about church history, theology, and other cool stuff about the Bible, then check out the rest of my videos and content on my channel.
Thanks, Wes. Wes is cool. I like Wes. All right, guys. So there you go. We'll do more Christmas is Not Pagan stuff. Maybe watch another video next week and talk about something different next week. Maybe we'll go through some of those other gods and find that video from Inspiring Philosophy about breaking down each one of them, going through the history, reading from the books, excerpts from the oldest text that we have mentioning these people. The dude that they say Jesus is based off of, but who's actually crawled up out of a pit of mud and then was immortal afterwards. And apparently that's the virgin birth of Jesus. We stole that from Mudman. We'll find all that stuff next week, but I gotta go, guys. Thank you everybody for hanging out. Let me see. I think Easy's having a little debate on his channel. It might be the First Amender one. It's probably over by now. Oh, Rachel's live. Crucible's live too. There he is. Okay. We'll go to Speakeasy. All right. Thank you guys for hanging out. Guys, the world's a crazy place. I just report on it. If you like it, tell a friend. If you hate it, tell everybody. We'll be doing some Bible studies this week, making our way through Psalms. And yeah, I gotta go to work. Spin the Dreaded Conservative show. You know, I think I said all my little catchphrases. Anyway, God bless. I'll see you next week, guys. I'll see you tomorrow, whenever, all throughout the week. Blah blah blah. All the good stuff. Be safe too.